Hey venner, godt at se jer. Nu er transfervinduet tæt på at slutte. Og jeg ved ikke, om der kommer til at ske så meget. Det virker faktisk ikke sådan der. Men altså, vi følger lige lidt med her. Jeg ved ikke, hvem ham her Mathis er. Lad os lige prøve at tjekke ham ud. – 17 kampe spillet, 19 år gammel, midtbanespiller. Ligner umiddelbart en for fremtiden. Mere end lige nu her. Jeg ved ikke, om I kan se. Jeg kan lige prøve at zoome lidt af den her. Sådan der. Young lad. Det kunne potentielt godt være en, der bliver lejet ud. Jeg tror ikke, han kommer til at spille i forløbet i hvert fald. Det virker som om de fleste designer spillere for fremtiden. Aston Villa, de er godt nok aktive i øjeblikket. Det må man sige. Marco Asensio, han kommer nok til at spille i og med, at Watkins han er skadet. Så ham tror jeg kommer til at spille. Hvilken pris han får, det er ret spændende. Jeg vil tro, det skal ikke koste meget mere end 4,5, hvis man skal overveje ham. 4,5 synes jeg virker som en fair pris for Asensio. Så Rashford, der koster 5, og Asensio, der nok kommer til at koste 4,5. Jeg tror ikke, han kommer til at koste lige så meget. Nu ved jeg ikke, hvordan holdet sætter deres priser. Ferguson bliver lige pludselig rigtig spændende. 2,5 til West Ham. Koster kun 2,5. West Ham har vist også en fin... et fint program, hvis jeg husker rigtigt. Det er måske så meget sagt. Måske i slut april kunne man godt overveje at få Ferguson ind. Hvis man skal bruge lidt money på andre premium-spillere. Slet ikke utænkeligt. United, de kommer ikke til at signe flere, ser det ud til. Det virker til at blive et meget stille vindue her til sidst. Klub til Celtic. Ja, yeah, why not? Der er noget nyt her. 2 timer og 51 minutter tilbage. Jeg synes klart, at Aston Villa er de store vinder af det her transfervindue indtil videre. Det må jeg indrømme. Jeg kan ikke se, hvem det ellers skulle være. Det kunne også godt være City, men jeg synes bare, det er salg af Duran. Og så har de hentet Rashford og Sancho. Kunne man godt lave en poll på. Ups. Vi kan jo lige dele den her. Kan vi lige køre over på den personlige her. Sådan der, så skal vi tilbage til Bolderberg Mad. Men Even Ferguson, synes jeg ser spændende ud. Selvom der er ikke så mange runder tilbage. Hvor mange runder har vi egentlig tilbage? Runder 4... 14 runder tilbage. Så kan han godt nå at blive aktuel, vil jeg sige. Så skal han nok blive aktuel. Hvad med Danso? $3 mil. Jeg ved slet ikke, hvor god Kevin Danso er. Jeg ved ikke, om der er nogen, der har noget info på ham. Det er ham. Han har haft 6 kampe. Jeg ved ikke, om han har været ude med skader eller et eller andet. Det er der jo mulighed for. Siden han kun har fået 6 kampe. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Han har spillet i januar. Han må have været skadet. Jeg kan næsten ikke tro andet. Jeg kan næsten ikke tro andet. Der sker ikke rigtig så meget her. PSV Tyrell. Medical booked. Så den kunne godt, det kunne godt ske. Ham ved jeg heller ikke, hvem er. Okay. Ham regner de nok med at starte inden med, så ser ud til at have meget gode stats. 5 mål og 3 oplæg. Han er helt sikkert ikke kommet ind endnu. Nope. Altså, det giver meget god mening. Altså, den deal, sådan ham lavede, det er kun med lån. Så jeg kan godt forstå, hvorfor United og potentielt også Arsenal har trukket sig ud af det kapløb. Det tror jeg helt sikkert. Rashford, det er meget spændende. Vi kunne godt lave en... Vi kan godt lige lave en afstemning her i chatten. Det tror jeg nok, han skal blive. Det tror jeg nok, han skal. Jeg tror, han nok skal blive god i Aston Villa. Jeg kan ikke se, hvorfor han ikke skulle gøre det. Men altså, det eneste, der er spørgsmålet, det er jo, at de har jo Ramsey, som gør det ret godt i øjeblikket. Så jeg ved ikke helt, hvad de har tænkt sig. Okay, det er så kun lige for nylig, han har været god. Men stadigvæk. I de sidste 3 kampe har han lavet 2 oplæg og et mål. Så har de altså 2 solide options på den venstre kant. Det er selvfølgelig også vigtigt nu, når de skal spille Champions League. Men altså... Asensio, han kommer nok til at skulle spille angriber, mens Watkins er skadet. Det er i hvert fald mit bud. Den er godt nok død. Det er så sindssygt så mange penge, City, de har brugt i det her vindue nu. Altså det... Hvad er dealen så med loan signing? Det er kun lån. Der står ikke mere om, hvad... Er det med obligation to buy, eller hvad er vi ude i her? Det er meget spændende at se, hvad der kommer til at ske med Rashford. Det må jeg sige. Og til 5,5 i holdet.dk. Altså, det kunne godt blive spændende. Hvad er der egentlig blevet af Cameron Archer? Han så lovende ud. Han har ikke spillet i... Er han skadet, eller hvad? Shit, mand. Det er ikke blevet til meget spilletid. Cameron Archer. Han så lovende ud, altså. Da han spillede i Aston Villa, synes jeg... Var det ikke der, hvor han gjorde det rigtig godt? Det kan jeg ikke engang huske. Det er ret sikker på, det var. Nej, det var Sheffield United. 4 mål. Hvorfor husker jeg ham som bedre? Jeg må huske forkert. Det ser ikke særlig godt ud. Der er sådan, der hedder transfer. Se om de har noget til os. Det er måske ikke et helt dumt køb for Tottenham. Det er lige lavet Danso, men de har lavet et kæmpe bud på Guahi. Men jeg ved sgu ikke om ham her. Han er rigtig god i fodboldmanager. Og han er også god. Han er god. Sidste, han kom fra Bordeaux, ikke? Hvis jeg husker rigtigt. Nej, Montpellier. Ham købte jeg altid i fodboldmanager. Maxim. Don't play Asensio as center forward. Men det bliver de nødt til, hvis Watkins er ude, så bliver de jo nødt til at spille med ham, kan man sige. Så er der ingen vej udenom. Det må være Villa, der har haft det bedste transfermarked. Det kunne også godt være City. Jeg tror helt sikkert, at vi kommer til at se flere udgang end for de forskellige Premier League-hold. Flere spillere, der rører ud af Premier League, end ind i Premier League her til sidst. Alle skal lige balance the books. Tottenham, de mangler virkelig endnu en forsvarsspiller, åbenbart. Jeg troede faktisk, at Mickey, han var ved at være tilbage. Er han ikke der? Tottenham. Lang tid er han ude. Han spillede her mod Elfsborg. Blev han skadet der? Det. Oh. Lad os lige se her. Jeg ved ikke, behøver de virkelig en mere? De har lige fået Danso ind. Det ved jeg altså ikke, om de behøver, for at være ærlig. Han må da også være rådet godt ned i pris. 3-5 stadigvæk. Mange af dem, der har været skadet fra start, de kommer jo til at falde 5.000 hver runde. Disasi, han vil bare ikke til Tottenham. Det vil nok. Er der ikke nogen, der har noget live coverage? Det er der ikke. Jeg havde forventet, der var lidt mere gang i det her transfervindue, det skal jeg ærligt indrømme. Det er godt nok en... Det er sgu godt nok en stille fornøjelse. Man må gå ud fra, at de kommer til at køre samme pris som i serie A. Kan man snyde sådan her? 37 kommer han til at koste, hvis han skifter. Jeg ved, om de kan nå at lukke den. Men han spiller jo positioner, de er ret godt besat på. Højre kanten. Der har de altså mange. De har Reece Nelson lejet i Arsenal, så har de Traoré, og så har de ham, er det Wilson, der gør det godt nu? Jeg ved ikke. Jeg ved sgu ikke, om de har brug for ham. Han var ret god i Villarreal, men jeg ved ikke, han har ikke rigtig hans potentiale. Det har han ikke rigtig fået indfriet, synes jeg. Jeg ved, om de siger noget om det. De er godt nok blevet kreative med de transfervideoer. Jeg ved ikke engang, hvilke... Han er lidt langsom, ham her Transfer News Live, i forhold til Fabricio. Ja, det giver ikke rigtig nogen mening for Arsenal at kalde Reece Nelson tilbage. Fordi de har Ethan. Og nu kommer Saka også tilbage. Jeg er svært ved at se Reece Nelson komme tilbage i... tilbage i truppen hos Arsenal. Den har jeg lidt svært ved at se. Folk er ikke så keen på Rashford. Hvis han kostede 5-5 i United, det havde man da overvejet dengang, havde man ikke det? Måske ikke. Det er ikke det mest ophidsende, det her. Det må man nok... Det er ikke det mest ophidsende transfervindue. Vi kan lige prøve at se den her 3 hours ago.
former Arsenal and Man City defender Jen Beattie are here. Many a crunching tackle behind them. Shin pads on for me to discuss the big deals and react to the breaking news.
On that note, we do start with breaking news, and we have a done deal. West Ham have signed Evan Ferguson on loan from Brighton. It is a deal we were expecting. West Ham will pay a significant loan fee and cover wages. It means a reunion for Ferguson with Graham Potter, the manager who gave him his break at Brighton as a teenager. Ferguson was Potter's top target in the window, and he's got him. Ferguson will wear number 34 and has said this: seeing the stadium and being here today, I've got a very good feeling. I can see and know how big West Ham United is. It was a big opportunity for me to come here. I know the gaffer well and look forward to working under him again. I want to come in and do my best for the club, score goals and see where we get to. So, done deal, Nick.
Interesting news we're just getting about Mathys Tel, who's been of interest to Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester United this window. Our colleagues at Sky Germany are telling us that he is on his way by plane to England. What does that mean? We'll discuss that, no doubt, through the afternoon. His agent has posted a picture of his departure, so maybe something is happening. It seemed to be going quiet on the Mathys Tel front. Maybe it is not quiet after all. We will keep you in touch minute by minute as we get news of that. We have got that confirmation of the news. Jen and Jamie of Evan Ferguson. Who wants to kick off? Jamie?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really good signing, Nick. I think he's been out of favour at Brighton, hasn't played, hasn't featured loads this season, but he's a talented football player. And, you know, Graham Potter's had him before, and he wants him again. And, you know, I think it's a really good move for him. They need a striker. You know, Fulkrug at West Ham struggled with injuries. You know, we've seen that Antonio obviously injured now as well. And they've really struggled with that focal point up front.
For West Ham.
And I think for me, talented footballer, young, he's going to want to prove himself. I think it could be a really good deal.
He's played 236 minutes of football so far this season, so he feels like he needed a fresh start.
Yeah, he's also struggled with injuries. I know he made his return to play at the weekend against Forest, but I think it's hard when you're linked to really big clubs from a young age, and then it doesn't necessarily go the right way for you. Confidence is massive, and then I think if you're, you know, reunited with a manager that believes in you, that instilling that confidence, I think it's a really good move for him. You know, he's 20 years old. He's still got so much football left to be played, and hopefully that happens at West Ham.
If you look back 2 years, there was talk that he was interested in some of the really big clubs. With all due respect to Brighton and West Ham, yes, go on. Get first Spurs mentioned the afternoon. There's going to be plenty more. Have you seen enough that he can get back to that kind of level?
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen enough in terms of talent, in terms of, you know, what his attributes are as a footballer. You know, he's a young lad. He's 20, so he's still got loads of improving to do. You know, he's had injuries and he's struggled. And then you start as a striker. You got to score goals week in, week out. And you know, if you're not playing and you're in and out of the team, it becomes frustrating for you. You can lose your confidence, bit of belief. You know, putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think I've seen enough of him in terms of him being a really good, top-quality Premier League striker. And you know, if he can hit the ground running, get his confidence up with Graham Potter, who's going to believe in him and give him the chance, you know, that could be a top deal.
You've had times where you've been unavailable for all sorts of fitness reasons. Do you come back with feeling that your ability, not that your ability's gone, but your ability to deliver that on the pitch has gone?
No, I think it definitely changes you as a player. It depends how long you've been out, right? It can be a matter of weeks or longer term injuries. The longer term ones are definitely harder, but they allow you to give that time to reset and add things to your game. So, but of course, it takes a good few weeks, depending on how long you've been out, to hit the ground running and to get that sort of flow of, I say always say momentum's huge in football. Week on week, playing week in, week out. That's what really drives you to get to the top of your game, and I think that's what Evan Ferguson needs probably at this point in his career.
Yeah. And for West Ham, absolutely no disrespect to Danny Ings, but I know that some West Ham fans have thought when they've seen Danny Ings come on, they think, is that all we've got? And Danny Ings has been a great, really useful striker, but it's not like he's going somewhere where there's enormous competition for places. You've got Antonio's still out.
Yeah, he's out.
Bowen's been out.
Yeah, he's out. Fulkrug's out. So I think if he can, you know, prove that he's fit 100% and he can rely on him and he can get through 90 minutes, I think he'll start. I don't see why he wouldn't.
100%.
You know, I think it'll be maybe the first couple of games he comes off the bench, find his feet. you know, hopefully gets a couple of chances and he can put one away. You know, you need an early tap in or something. You know, one that comes off the backside. You know, when you ain't played and you get yourself and you're on the score sheet and all of a sudden you're off and running. You know, but he knows now. You know, coming to the end of, you know, we're in February now, till the end of the season. He's got 4 months to really go for it and see what happens.
Good to see that you are off and running, Jamie and Jen. Thank you. Got some breaking news, guys.
Breaking news.
We do indeed, Nick, and we were just about to go to both Arsenal and Manchester United. We had heard that update on Matthias Tell, that there had been a picture of him in a plane heading to England. We now think, Teddy, we know where he was heading.
Yeah, it's a bit vague, but now we can go to Michael Bridge, I believe, with
Tottenham.
the latest news.
Done deal.
Come on in. Bridge,
And a done deal.
Tell us.
Well, we say never on deadline day. This is absolutely incredible. My cameraman said, can you imagine Matthias Tell turning up here? And I went, can't see it. That was 7 a.m. But wow. Breaking news, according to my colleague Florian Petterberg in Germany, waiting for official confirmation, but Matthias Tell has done a U-turn and has said yes to Tottenham Hotspur. Quite incredible breaking news here. Get more on that shortly regarding any obligations or options. There are reports that there's no options or obligations, but what we do know, and there's a picture of his agent and Tell on a plane, and it looks like it's going to London, potentially. That's what we're told, and not Manchester. But stay with us throughout the day and evening on Sky Sports News. Massive breaking news. Friday in Battersea, we told you Tell said thanks, but no thanks. I'm probably going to stay in Munich. He's changed his mind. Huge news. Matthias Tell on his way to Tottenham.
We love a development like that. We love the unexpected. Jen, you just feel, as Bridget was hinting there, you just feel that Spurs need some kind of lift as much as they need the new talent.
Yeah, they do. I think, you know, injuries of
Det er sjovt, han valgte... det er måske ikke så sjovt. Det giver måske god mening. United trækker sig ud at Tell. Det lød udlækkert. Det var ikke det, jeg mente. Men altså... dealen med ham, fordi Spurs, de kommer kun til at lege ham med no obligations to buy. Det giver sgu ikke rigtig mening for hverken United eller Arsenal eller Chelsea for den sags skyld. Tottenham giver det lidt mere mening. Det er lidt mere akut for dem nemlig.
Last minute, you know, I thought Bridger was going to be at the Spurs training ground, freezing his towel off, nothing happening. You know, but that could be a big move, and it's a big signing. You know, you're going to spend money on him, or you're getting him on loan. You know, he's going to add quality to the team. He's someone who potentially comes in and starts. So, look, Daniel Levy. Jeg
føler lidt, at Transfer News, de kopierer bare Fabrizio Romanos post. Vildt nok bare have sådan en Instagram-account, der bare reposter andres.
So it is a different beast. You know, he's obviously a talented footballer, but I think if we can get him on loan with an obligation to buy in the summer if he does well, or you know maybe Daniel.
Men det har de ikke engang fået.
Shrewd businessman, he'll get the deal that works for Spurs.
Det har de ikke engang fået.
And look, it looks like maybe we can get it over the line, so it'll be happy days.
There's plenty of competition if people are fit, because the Spurs are not short of strikers on the books.
Yeah, no, I think Timo Werner and James Maddison, it's all small niggles, right? Nothing's long term, so they'll be back to fitness. I think Postecoglou said pretty short term, right? So, but I think everyone was still looking at this window and waiting to see if Spurs would bring in someone to kind of replace the sort of bigger injuries in that team. But
Richarlison's not good enough. He's not good enough. Richarlison, it's been a waste of money. He's not been good enough. I'm sorry. You know, like we need to look at elsewhere. For me, Son, I've said it before, he's been an unbelievable servant for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and he's still got something to offer, but he ain't the player.
Vildt nok folk, de skriver Tata out, efter de har banket City helt tilbage til stenalderen.
Solanke's picked up an injury which can see him out for a bit longer. You know, so we need replacements. You do. You know, you got Brendan Johnson's been out for a while, and the backup to them players ain't good enough. But Richarlison, you know, for me, I'll be trying to get him out the door.
What an interesting afternoon it threatens to be, promises to be. We'll keep you in touch. So, Arsenal, Manchester United, they were both interested in Tell, but they didn't pursue a deal. listen, as far as we know,
Måske de siger det nu.
what incomings are going to happen at those two clubs? Let's get to Sani Radravajula at Old Trafford, and also you'll see standing by for us Gary Cottrell at the Emirates. Gary, let me start with you. Tell, we don't think going to Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal. What are you thinking? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm just glancing down at my phone, Nick, as I wait to hear back from the latest from Arsenal, because I've asked them whether or not the situation with them has changed after that news that Mathys Tel is on a plane heading to London. I've not heard back from them, but I'd be very surprised if it has, because we heard earlier today that although they had shown some interest in the young striker, they weren't going to pursue any deal, and I think that is still the case. I think there were options, weren't there, for him to turn up here at the Emirates or at Old Trafford or at Stamford Bridge. Well, he's not going to turn up at the Bridge. He's going to turn up, it seems, with Michael Bridge at the Tottenham Hotspur training ground. A U-turn by the player. Arsenal never really leading the chase for him. He's not really, ideally, what they're looking for. They're looking for an out-and-out goal scorer, a 25-30 guaranteed a season man. Somebody like Ollie Watkins, who just senses where the goal is. It's his second nature. This youngster from, excuse me, this youngster that we're talking about, who is not really getting game time at Bayern Munich, isn't that. He plays on the left-hand side mainly. He can play down the middle, can Mathys, but he's more likely to be playing on the left-hand side. He can play on the right as well. Versatile, strong, tall, lots of pace, and a real prospect.
Som Arsenal-fan, så gør det ondt at se.
And also in the running for Arsenal rather than the first choice. So it seems that they're not going to pursue their interest in him, and he's on his way to London, but it seems still, as I look down, not here.
Gary, let's bring in
100% af den sejr mod City, den har gjort, at de har tænkt, vi sparer pengene til sommer.
Well, I think it's absolutely fascinating because you've got Rasmus Højlund with no goals in 13, Joshua Zirkzee, no goals in 11. Both were not starting here at Old Trafford yesterday in a 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. You had Kobbie Mainoo playing as a false nine, which, you know, from the outside looking in, you'd assume Ruben Amorim is kind of telling the hierarchy, well, come on, guys, I need another option here because it's not working so far. But what I've been told is they won't be rushing into any panic buys, Man United. Me, Gary and Michael have all become Mathys Tel experts because we've all had the news that he might be coming our way. But he would have been an interesting prospect. But yeah, I think Man United do actually need an option. A lot of the fans would agree with that. The ones who are having the tours around us right now at Old Trafford would certainly do so. But by the sounds of things, they are not wanting to rush into any signings now. They want to plan for the summer transfer window. Yes, they've allowed...
Som Arsenal-fan kan man godt føle sig lidt gaslightet. Det er i hvert fald stensikkert.
PSR-wise, because his wages are being covered elsewhere, or the majority are. But again, if the striker isn't available, they're not going to go for it. So, and by the way, that's despite, as well at the other end of the pitch, Lisandro Martinez going off injured yesterday, and they may be needing an option at the back. We have got Patrick Dorgu, who's come in from Lecce. He's a wide left winger. He can play on the right as well. He's kind of a left full-back, left wing sort of player. And he's got an eye for goal. He's very strong as well. And he's a player that Ruben Amorim has been keeping an eye on and works very hard for the team, which we know Amorim really likes. And they've also brought in Aidan Heaven, who's a centre-back for Arsenal. But strikers-wise, attacking-wise, looks like there's nothing coming here at Old Trafford at the moment.
Danny, thank you. Keep an eye on your phone.
Thank you, Nick. Potential breaking news for you involving Wolves and Leicester involving a swap deal.
Yeah, Dan Khan is at Molineux for us. A hive of activity so far on this transfer deadline day. Dan, keeping you busy. What about this swap deal then? What can you tell us?
Wolves are always involved on deadline day, aren't they? But in terms of this potential swap deal, understand there have been exploratory talks, initial talks between Wolves and Leicester over what would be a sensational swap deal between the former Wolves captain Conor Cody, who's of course currently at Leicester, and Craig Dawson, the Wolves centre-back who's also played at West Brom. A potential swap between those. And we know Leicester and Wolves have been looking to bolster, especially their defensive areas in this window. Both don't have the best defensive records this season. Understand talks are very, very early at this stage, and there's a lot of work to do before tonight's deadline for such a move to happen. But if it does come off, it would be an amazing return, especially for Conor Cody to come back to Molineux, because he was not very much fancied by former boss Bruno Lage a few years ago. He didn't necessarily get a goodbye to the Wolves fans. So if it does happen and Wolves are able to add a third centre-back in this window with who we think Nasser Jiba should be should have.
Det bliver spændende at se, hvor hurtigt holdet får ham ind, ham her Gonzalez.
Be a fantastic story, wouldn't it, the comeback, Daniel? What can you tell us about the potential incomings as well of Marshall Munetsi and Nasser Jiga?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, both areas that Vitor Pereira has been adamant all window that he has wanted to reinforce, a centre-back and a midfielder. Marshall Munetsi, let's start with him. Looking at a fee of just around £16 million. Wolves have agreed a deal with French side Hans in principle for the midfielder. And Pereira has been very adamant this window especially that he wants to add a midfielder who can add a bit more physical quality in that area of the pitch. The likes of Andre and João Gomez all probably have a similar build, but I think Munetsi represents a different type of midfielder in that.
And I think dropping into the Championship with us and growing again, like you said, just taking a step back and growing in confidence has worked wonders for him.
It does tie in, Chris, doesn't it, with all that discussion we were having about young players, really?
Yeah, and I actually think that Burnley have gone about things the right way in terms of their model. I know there's been a managerial change. The thing I do find fascinating about Burnley, Joe, is Vincent Kompany's team to Scott Parker's team, and where the fans are at with that. In you're going well this season, albeit you're third in the Championship in a playoff spot. You obviously want automatic promotion, but how is it amongst the fan base watching the team, knowing that you're really strong at the back, but do you want to see a bit more entertainment, a bit more of an expansive brand of football, or is it just about pragmatism, getting back to the promised land?
For me personally, it's about getting there. But the 0-0s are starting to wear a bit thin. I don't mind not being entertaining, but I want to see us win games and I want to see us score goals. I don't mind not beating everybody 3-0 like we did the last time we were in the Championship and things like that. I don't mind the odd 1-0 here and there or the odd 1-1. But all of these 0-0s are starting to wear a bit thin now. And I do feel like we're prioritising being strong at the back instead of winning, not necessarily winning games, but for going forward. And I think we are struggling going forward because of the system. But overall, I think the fan base are largely happy. There are a few murmurings about sort of like the style and things like that, but for me, it's about getting back there. And if we won the way to the Premier League, then it won't bother me at all, and everything will be forgotten about next season.
Yeah.
Joe, you're talking about obviously getting the ultimate goal is to get to the Premier League, but would you be concerned if you didn't get there? Some of these players moving on, because I mean, we all know it's hard to. A lot of goals have been shepherded in at the Premier League at this moment in time. You want to find players that can keep it out of the back of the net, and obviously with this record right now, there's a lot of teams interested.
Yeah, there is, and there's a lot of
Costa
players
Rashford
as well. Josh Brownhill, CJ Egan-Riley. Then you look at Trafford, obviously we've already mentioned. We've already mentioned, and people will be coming in for them. So yeah, you look at Leeds as well, and they lost a lot of players. They had a big financial injection, but they've managed to sort of like rebuild and go again. I'm not sure we'd be able to do that if we stayed down. So yeah, like I said, for me, it's about getting there, and if we have to.
Men han koster 6-5.
So be it.
Nu koster han 5-5 i den nye sæson. Rashford.
If you put Connor Roberts to one side, they're all 22 or younger, though. I mean, the potential there, if the club could keep them, is huge, isn't it?
It is, but I think that's a big if. I think Esteve, there's rumours that Spurs are looking at him now. That's been rubbish by the
Spurs.
Han billigere end Mateta.
22 hours, it feels like.
On the way in, that
game,
the Burnley Express reporter rubbished it, so he should be here. But again, in the summer, that Burnley don't go up, they don't get the Premier League money, then they start looking to sort of like trim the squad, and I think the likes of Trafford and Esteve, they'll be the biggest outlays. So I think they'll be the first to go, unfortunately.
This may be a horrible question to ask. Which season have you enjoyed more, last season or this season?
This season. Last season, it were awful. Just going everywhere and 5-0s, 4-0s. You're going home, you're going away, you're spending a lot of money and a lot of time. And
was some of the football better though? Bizarrely.
In a way, yes, but Well, no, but it's hard to say because it was more entertaining, yes, but then we were making some silly errors at the back last season. Obviously, they're well documented, not just the goalkeepers, but the defenders as well, and that's not entertaining. It might be entertaining for you guys in the neutral, but it's not entertaining as a Burnley fan. The favourite ever season was obviously the season before that, and I think the worst ever season for me was the season after that. So it's been a roller coaster these last few seasons.
Rory?
Do you feel as though, this has all been a bit negative so far, and that's just Chris has been involved. But
hang on, we talked about the back four and James Trafford and youth and rebuilding, and
then we tried to sell them.
Yeah, we did. I did. Apologies.
Okay.
I'm normally the positive one as well, so apologies. On
Anyhow, sorry. Back to you, hoity-toity.
If you were to do up, and obviously it's tight because you've got Leeds, Sheffield United, Sunderland. There's kind of 4 teams going for those two spots, and then one more in the playoffs. If you were to go up, do you think that this style of football sets you up better to survive in the Premier League? Because there's always an assumption that teams that come up as Burnley did under Company and try and play are found out they're not good enough. They can't match the elite teams in that style. So there's quite often a call, as we've seen at Southampton this year, to try and be more solid.
Yeah.
But then if you can't score goals, it's difficult to win games.
Jeg ved ikke, om der kommer til at ske så meget de sidste 2 timer. Men vi følger selvfølgelig med.
We get relegated because of how the gap between the two divisions, but I think we stay in games longer if we go up next season. I don't think we're 3-0 down after 5 minutes. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but I think we were 2-0 down after 5 minutes in the opening game against Man City, for example. So I think we stay in games longer, but we'd have to spend money. The signs are there now going forward. We're not scoring enough goals in the Championship, so we would have to sign players and spend money to change the squad and change the how good we are going forward. Maybe some players in the middle. Obviously, Marcus Edwards is a very good start.
Yeah,
He's a good player, and obviously, if we go up, he'll still be there. There's an obligation, I think, of £8 million if we go up. So yeah, I think we're more pragmatic, and I think we can stay in games better under this manager than the previous one in the Premier League.
Just a final one then on that. Are you bearing in mind what happened last season with the 3 that came down? Bearing in mind this season. And there's a high chance it's the 3 that come down. And it's a regular thing that we discuss on the Monday Night Club, and obviously it's discussed elsewhere as well. Are you resigned to that? Are you resigned to that fate of being one of those clubs that goes up and goes down and goes up and goes down?
Not forever. I do feel
how can it be broken?
I just eventually someone will have a good season and break that mould. I think the season before,
if you could have one player from another Six Nations squad,
Fulham and stuff, and everybody that went up. The last time there was us, Luton, and Sheffield United. I think the season before that it was the likes of Fulham and Bournemouth. I think they all stayed up, so it can be done. But obviously they've all got wealthy backers, so we'll have to see. But not resigned to it forever. But yeah, I think ultimately if we do go up next season, this season, I think next season will be a slog, but we'll see. Obviously, the board will spend, hopefully.
All right, Joe, thank you very much for coming in. Really.
Jeg tror aldrig, jeg har set
from the Turf
X/Twitter så stille.
Podcast. We are about to get underway at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea and West Ham. It's also Middlesbrough and Sunderland in the Championship. We're keeping an eye on deadline day moves as well. What are Brighton, Rory?
Bad at defending. Injury hit. Both of those things, I think.
Okay.
They really missed their midfield against Forest. But I do think, and this sounds really stupid, after a 7-0 defeat.
You think people are going over the top?
Yeah, a little bit. Brighton are always slightly... There's quite a lot of variance.
Ret spændende indkøb, faktisk.
Generally, they have really good runs and they have slightly worse runs. And I thought it was strange on Saturday that they
kind
of
went 3 or
4-0 down whilst not.
Det er så udmærket.
It felt like Forest were just really ruthless. In the same way that Bournemouth had been the previous week against Forest. They just punished... The chances they got, they punished them. And that's not to say it wasn't deserved. But I don't think that performance is indicative of where Brighton are or what Brighton are.
Theo?
Yeah, I mean, I find the fact they're quite refreshing to watch. They've obviously been well managed and well drilled. It's a good club, very well run. Yeah, obviously injuries is always going to play a part. It's always an excuse for managers and for the club itself. But I don't think anyone saw that coming. Like I say, it's a fixture. The players, for me, they didn't give up either. They still played their same way. But we're going back to what we were saying about Man City. At some point, you need to shut up shop and really get hold of each other and think, look, guys, we damage limitation. We might have to go away from what the manager wants from us right now. But I don't know who that would have been on that field at the time to present that and go away from a manager's philosophy, because I've said this before in the past, as soon as you do that, you ain't playing next week. But there's a lot of them who might not be playing this weekend.
Do you think, Chris, it's just a simple thing of a manager getting the selection wrong? I mean, that team came out on Saturday at midday, and we sat here in the studio and looked at it and thought, what are they playing? 4-1-5? And we couldn't see any other way of them doing it with Hinchelwood as their only sort of defensive midfielder, and arguably he hasn't really played that much as a defensive midfielder. So can you just write it off as a bad team selection, a bad day at the office?
Well, I think Rory touched on it. I think if you looked at their central midfield pairing, there was one at the weekend, Hinchelwood, Ayari and Baleba, and they would have given them more security. The one thing which I don't want to sound ancient here, but we sort of we bracket players now, don't we? They're a 6 or an 8 or a 10 or whatever, where years ago you were just a midfielder. So albeit you can say, well, there are 5 attacking players. Are these players are these players now in a position where they can't think how to adapt and play another position? And for the life of me, I do not understand that at all. Just because you play as an 8, and Joao Pedro played a little bit deeper, Ruta played a little bit deeper in that first half, doesn't mean that they shouldn't understand how to screen the back line or the angle of approach when they're shutting down. And Forest simply played through them far too easily. But I think it's too easy just to throw out there, more so on the players than anything else. Well, that's not my position. I can't play that. I'm not here to defend. That absolutely is. You're a team, and I think that comes. There has to be a large element of responsibility.
But Joao Pedro isn't a midfielder, is he?
No, he's not. But are you telling me he doesn't know how to play midfield? You've got to be. Be really thick to, if you're a professional player, not to understand how to play another role.
Oh, dude. So hang on a minute. So if Gordon Strachan had put you at right back, you'd have known what to do.
Not on that
he
contract.
He put me central midfield, yeah, and not on a pay-as-you-play contract, Gordon.
Right.
Just the deal was as it was. So
do you know what
I would have a rough idea. Well, not a rough idea. I would know what my role is as a right back. I'm not saying I would have been perfect at it, but there are basics within the game where you can't just use that as an excuse.
I think Chris is probably broadly right, but the one thing I'd say is that you're not talking about, Jorginho Ruta, who'd never played in midfield before. I think that he doesn't have a clue what to do, and he's sort of standing in the middle of the pitch thinking, what am I meant to run? Am I not meant to run? Should I kick towards my own goal? Should I kick towards their goal? Like, they know what to do. It's just that they haven't spent their entire careers absolutely fine-tuning that role. And it takes it back to, these are now basically a generation of players who will have come through academies where they played specific roles. And yeah, that stuff like the angle of approach and stuff, that will not be as familiar to them as it would be to someone who'd been trained to be a midfielder. And you don't need to do
Rory,
it at all.
Just
need to be slightly off.
I don't know. Sorry for butting in. I don't know the way that Hertzler trains or whatever, but literally, I think most coaches now they'll strip things back and they'll walk through how they want you to press and the angle of approach and whatever. So unless you're not watching, what the hell are you doing? I don't understand that.
Does it not need to become instinctive though? Does it in a high pressure environment you can't execute? If you've had a week to be like, right, Jorginho, we're going to teach you how to be sort of half decent in midfield. You're not going to have internalized all of that stuff that you need to know, and there will be moments where you get it wrong. And in the Premier League, the margins are so fine that if you're off by 2%, there's half a chance.
Well, Nottingham Forest did the previous week, right? Yeah. They got battered 5-0. We're not talking about them as being an issue. I mean, look,
and there was a school of thought there, wasn't there, that Brighton saw that and thought, right, we're going to we're going to have to
Det virker som en udmærket signing faktisk, for at være helt ærlig.
Vulnerability to them.
Absolutely.
Tyler
and as well,
Bindon, reading.
You know, going back to what Chris was saying about players knowing positions, I actually remember surrounded myself at times where, say, if you were starting or not starting, then the other team would replicate basically the team you play against at the weekend, and you'll be put in any position. It didn't really matter, really. But then you still do what your instincts of that player. For instance, myself, centre mid, I'll be ball carrying it, trying to dribble around everyone. And the manager, and I'll do it quite happily, but then the manager wouldn't want me to do it. And I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty good in this role. I kind of enjoy it. And then you get a good feeling about yourself in a different role, but never played it. But yeah, players know the positions. Look at Kobe Mainu yesterday. He may know the position. He doesn't have to play it. That's the problem. But yeah, I mean, I think Hertzler was probably a bit naive thinking, yeah, we're going to do it the way that Bournemouth did it. And it's got a completely different setup.
Although the worst decision of that afternoon came, and it's all over the news, isn't it, today? That's the Nottingham landlady who offered a free pint to everybody in the pub every time Nottingham Forest scored. I mean, of all the games to pick, anyhow, it led to her giving away nearly 300 pints at a cost of up to £1,500. She has been inundated by the media today, but yeah, that probably wasn't the best decision. That was probably a worse decision than Hertzler's team selection. I have to come back to you, Theo, on training when you're meant to replicate the opposition in one of those things, but I'll do it in a minute because we're very late for the news. Coming up, we'll talk Marcus Rashford at Villa. We'll talk Kobe Mainu playing up front. Any deadline day deals as well that are coming through. Middlesbrough have just signed Kelechi Iheanacho on loan. They're in action tonight as well, taking on Sunderland. We'll go to the live games too. First of all, Nick Hatfield and the news.
If you could have one player from another Six Nations squad in your squad, who would it be?
Well, there's only one choice, isn't there? He's probably the best player in the world at the moment.
Antoine Dupont.
Yeah.
Marouito aussi.
Okay. Chelsea spiller nu mod West Ham. De har vel ikke engang Ferguson på bænken endnu, vel? Nej. Ings er der stadigvæk. Ham her, hvad koster han i... What? Han er... Det er vildt nok. 2 mil koster han. Ikke at han har meget x-faktor, men han koster heller ikke noget, kan man sige. Decisive will not sign for Spurs. Despite the work being done to get Decisive a move, the center back will not going to Tottenham. This is going nowhere. Ser det ud til. What? Det er 2 vidt forskellige... Jeg forstår ikke, når det står sådan... Aston Villa have agreed a deal to sign Chelsea defender Axel Disassis. What? I don't believe that. Det tror jeg ikke. Jeg tror ikke, han kommer til Aston Villa. Vi ser, hvem der får ret her. Sky Sport eller Talk Sport. Der er mange af de her accounts, man simpelthen ikke kan stole på overhovedet. tilbage.
On the field, they're at home to Sunderland. Rob Law.
Yeah, it was typically choreographed on this particular day, wasn't it, Mark? Fantastic atmosphere here on the pitch, though. Middlesbrough started strong. Marcus Forss went close moments ago. His first start since March last year. He shot inside the area, well saved by the Sunderland goalkeeper. A reminder, win for Michael Carrick's side takes them back into the playoffs. Victory for Sunderland moves them to within 3 points of an automatic promotion place. Middlesbrough 0, Sunderland 0, 10 minutes gone.
Chris Sutton, Rory Smith, Theo Walcott on the Monday Night Club. Just going back then to what you were talking about before the news, and that first team against everybody else who is there to replicate the opponents who are coming up in the next game. How useful is that? Because as you say, if you're asked to be the central midfielder of the opponent, what are you meant to try and recreate what that player would do, or is it more just shape?
It's more shape, really, but you do want to get an element of recreating a certain player, but I didn't want to do that. I wasn't that player. I'm not going to get the ball and spray it all over the place. But what it was as well, that can still happen in a game. A player, just watching the West Ham game, Kudus just nutmegged and did a dribble in a certain area where it's just a bit vulnerable to do so. You still need to be able to adapt to the player in any situation on the field that could happen. The player could do something out of the ordinary. And that's what it was, really. But it was quite exciting, the enjoyment, to be fair. And I actually really enjoyed playing out on the as a wing-back because I couldn't defend anyway. And I could just stay high and wide, and every time I got it, I could get the ball, cross it, use my pace. And it was a position I actually really was quite fond of, but I never really played it. But it was fun. It was definitely fun. But I'll put it that way, I would like to have been in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Opening goal has gone in at the Riverside. Which way, Rob?
And it's gone to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough 1, Sunderland 0. First blow to Michael Carrick's side. A beautiful through ball by Hayden Hackney, which is why Middlesbrough turned down a bid from Portugal's side Porto earlier in the window. Just absolutely spread the play open. And Delano Bergzog.
Jeg ser det som, der er noget andet. Det er der ikke rigtigt, er der det? Live.
Of people thinking that, which means that's good, Chris, because that means you're now unbearable. No, you're bearable. Sorry, not unbearable. So that's good, isn't it?
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's a positive. I would have liked to have been a little bit earlier, but that's fine.
Some very positive comments. Grant Cullen, Chris has never been unbearable. He's just bearable in a unique way. MNC at bbc.co.uk if you want to get in touch. 85058 at 5 Live Sport. Marcus Rashford at Aston Villa. Good move for the club. Good move for the player. Good move for the club that have let him go. Chris.
Oh, blimey. Well, we'll find out, won't we? I think Marcus Rashford has a lot to prove, and I wouldn't normally say that about a player who has a track record like his up until about 18 months ago. But I think it's a risk from Aston Villa. Unai Emery clearly thinks that he can get Marcus fully focused again, and if he does, I think there's no doubt he's got a good player, but it's all about attitude. The last two Manchester United managers have called Marcus Rashford out, and it's a trial period, isn't it? Because it looks like he's going on a loan at first, and then the possibility of signing in the summer. So Marcus Rashford is on trial.
People said on Saturday, Theo, when we were doing the show, well, Unai Emery won't tolerate him if he's not performing.
Well, Aston Villa har klart haft det bedste transfervindue.
And Ruben Amorim didn't. So what's
the
difference?
I think sometimes as a player, a change of voice, a change of scenery. We were talking about potentially maybe even getting out of the city and going and experiencing being on your own and away from distractions and just focusing on the ultimate goal, which is performing at the levels. Because we all want to see that smile. I want to see it back as well and see the levels that he has. He's I can really relate to the fact that at times being at a club for such a long time, it's hard to do that step. But you got to take that leap because there will be initial reaction. There will be. I just feel it's a tough team because there's a lot of good players in this position you want to play as well. And
Det er også den eneste bekymring, jeg har for Rashford. Det er, om han overhovedet får spilletid, fordi det er Ramsey, han skal slå af, som har spillet ekstremt godt de sidste 3 kampe.
He's going to have to be busy, and he doesn't like playing up front. I think he's just going to have to accept just playing any position now you're chosen upon, because you're there at the club to not just to prove to them that you're good enough, but to prove to everyone now and yourself. Really, that's the ultimate goal. Just prove to yourself that you still actually care, because I think that's what it comes down to.
Interesting there that Rory Theo used the phrase "be busy." So the argument will be from a United fan perspective on the field, and if you look at what Ruben Amorim has said about training, put some effort in. Okay? So when we keep being told that Unai Emery can rejuvenate players and rehabilitate players, Marcus Rashford doesn't need his game building up again, does he? He just needs... I mean, to put it bluntly, the perception is he just needs to run around.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this last week, I think, didn't we? That it does seem an extreme thing to do. I saw someone say on one of the social media sites that it's an extreme thing to do to move to a different city as opposed to running around a bit and training for the club that you love and have supported since childhood. That does seem strange, but I think Theo is probably right. I suspect what Marcus Rashford needs more than anything else is a change of scenery, because he's had plenty of changes of voices. Does Man United keep changing the manager? But he needs to be, I think, somewhere maybe where there's less of an emotional connection, maybe where he has that sense of independence, maybe he's got a little something to prove. And yeah, Chappers, you're right. He doesn't need his game rebuilding, because Marcus Rashford, when he is fully fit and fully engaged and kind of on it, is a high-quality Premier League striker or left-sided attacker. The difficulty is that he's
Rory, what was the emotional connection got to do with anything in terms of? Do you think at times we look for things which weren't there for Marcus Rashford? Because we did speak about it before, but it's a basic thing which Marcus Rashford was asked to do. I don't think this has anything to do with Unai Emery, about him having to get the best out of Marcus Rashford. This is all about Marcus Rashford getting the best out of himself.
I would agree with that completely. I think it's Rashford looking for an environment in which he can thrive again. There's obviously whatever has happened at United, that environment is no longer working for him. To be honest, I think that a lot of the conversation around Rashford is just missing a big chunk, and we talked about this last week as well. But the allegation from Amorim, and to an extent Ten Hag before him, is that Rashford's not trying in training. That what that means, I have no idea. I don't know if that means Marcus Rashford is wandering around like booting the balls off the pitch and sort of sitting in front of the goal, lying down in the goal and saying like, you can't train. I don't know whether it means he's just not running around as hard as the manager would want. There are suggestions that that his personal life maybe has become a bit of an obstacle for him to overcome, or that his full focus is not on the game. But because all of that is whisper and innuendo and gossip, it's really hard to know what we're actually talking about here. Are we talking about a player who's just not quite at the level, or are we talking about a player who just isn't really bothered anymore, is clearly in a funk and doesn't care? I think either way, it was very clear that at United that wasn't changing. There was nothing, either the coaches couldn't pull Rashford out of it, or Rashford couldn't pull himself out of it, or some combination of the two. I think in terms of the emotional connection, sometimes there's more pressure on you as a homegrown player. You're in your city. You're surrounded by the people that you've always been surrounded by. Maybe there comes a point where that's not desperately healthy. Maybe you do just need to go somewhere else. And look, Birmingham isn't a long way away. It's what, depending on a decent run, an hour and a half down the M6, maybe 2.5 hours in normal conditions. It's
depends
not,
if you use the toll road or not. I would also.
That's true. I mean, to Villa, that last bit to Villa Park from Manchester is a nightmare. Anyway,
you could probably afford to use that.
If Villa are covering part of his wages, maybe that was why it took a while to get through. Just they were trying to work out who was paying for the M6 toll. I think the change of scenery is what's important for Rashford, because he clearly had the place he was in at United. He was not able to kind of be himself in that environment. The hope isn't, I agree with you completely, I don't think it's that Unai Emery's got some sort of magic wand and he can wave it over Rashford and remind him what he used to be. I think that the gamble that Villa are taking, and it's a gamble worth taking, is that if you take Marcus Rashford out of an environment where it has become toxic, you might get the player that he was. And it might work, it might not.
you hit the nail on the head there about saying toxic, and I think as well, going back to what you're saying about kicking balls and all of that, I know players at times that could hold back the team by being late for certain things, or if you're always waiting for someone to come to the gym. It might be just certain behaviours like that where, you know, at times there's no excuse really to be late. I'm not saying he's late, but I've been in a position where players, and you're always waiting for them. You know they're always the last one to come out, or the last one to come out with a minute left just before training, and it becomes a norm. And I'm saying now to Marcus Rashford, be that first one at training ground. Be that. I know it's such a cliche. Be that last one when things are going well. Be in that gym. Be seen doing the right things, because there's loads of eyes around all these clubs these days. They always keep an eye on you. So I just advise him, look, even if it's really hard to do, what's more important right now is to create that environment and to be that. There'll be players in that dressing room think, I'm going to be playing with Marcus Rashford. What that'll mean to him. You look at Ramsey and Rodgers thinking, well, man, they could threaten my position here. So they're going to be lifted up. So for me, I think it's going to be a really positive move. I really do. I really think having that English connection there, like you said about Umaremi, improving players, but he is really intense. So, and he's had a lot of intense managers, but I think for me, it's a completely different environment which he will thrive in. I really do believe that. I think United as well, they haven't been doing great without him anyway. And even when he was there, he got a few goals, and it's always, I felt Manchester United were...
det er vildt.
It was more
det er sgu vildt.
Rashford. It's the problem's Rashford. But no, it's still there. The problem's still at United. So be interesting to see after weeks go by what the issue is now. But I think
it's like Theo, it's like you and Rory are half palming that off on Ten Hag and Amorim. That saying Rashford isn't the problem. It's very unusual what both managers have done with Marcus Rashford in terms of calling him out. It's very unusual.
Yeah, no, that is really fair. With one, you can write it off as, look, there's a personality clash here. Some managers do randomly take against certain players. They just don't like the cut of their jib or whatever. But with two of them, leaving aside the slight asterisk that maybe Amorim's done it a little bit to assert himself. But generally, yeah, I think Chris is right. It is weird that two managers in succession would be like, this guy is a problem. That's not to say they're complete. I mean, it is on Marcus Rashford to do that. But at the same time, the manager is there to kind of get the best out of the players. And part of your job is to work out the kind of psychological keys to elicit the best from each member of your squad, each of whom is an individual person who has their own motivations, their own kind of inspirations, all that stuff. So I do think it doesn't reflect particularly well on Ten Hag and Amorim, especially that Amorim's just kind of given up on him straight away, when, as Theo says, it's not like Manchester United are good. But the bulk of the pressure is on Rashford to say that Rashford now has to prove them wrong. That's a terrible cliche, but that's basically what has to happen.
But from United's point of view, they've now let Rashford go on loan. The last two attackers that they brought in, one of whom is a number 9, and Xerxes, who probably isn't a number 9, are on the bench. They've got a midfielder who did well as a 10 in the Europa League during the week, Chris, starting as a 9. Do they know what they're doing?
Well, I think that that Manchester United aren't getting relegated, and he may be experimenting. I'll always go back to the formation which he said he was going to play at the start. He's stuck with that. I don't think that is Amorim's problem. I think that is more on Ineos, and the argument is Amorim should adapt, and I understand that, but it doesn't look like he is going to adapt. What I do think...
Oliver Glasner took over Crystal Palace, played 3-4-3, and 8 of their starting 11 yesterday who played in the 3-4-3 were at the club before he signed.
Yep, and at this
so he's
moment
coached them into playing 3-4-3.
Yep.
Without having to completely change the squad.
Maybe different expectations, but I do take your point. Where I think he's got a big problem now is if you're Xerxes or you're Højlund, and you're thinking, I see Kobe Mainoo, who's a really excellent footballer, but he's not a centre forward. He's not a false 9. How on earth is he playing in front of me? I think that's a problem. Ruben Amorim is basically telling the pair of them he does not rate them in any way, shape, or form. And the other part of that is we are now into the last hours of the transfer window. Bet your bottom dollar Amorim wants a centre forward in, but he could lose these two players mentally for the rest of the season now, where they think I'm not applying myself. I mean, from their point of view, they should apply themselves. But I'm just saying, as a human trait, to think, well, if he doesn't rate me, I'm gonna, I'll down tools for him.
And that's what we're talking about, the toxic environment, isn't it, Rory and Chris? About, for me, I look at it as a bit of a test. Managers love to test players. I've been tested. I remember having Emmanuel Aboué play right wing when he was a fullback ahead of me, and I thought, wait a minute. It just got me thinking, I'm obviously doing something not right here to have Emmanuel Aboué, which I loved. He was a very exciting player off the pitch as well, really bubbly, but I ain't having you playing ahead of me. That changed within not even a week, pretty much, because.
So did you go out to prove? Did you go out to prove yourself then, not sulk?
I didn't sulk. I just thought I ain't gonna go and whinge about this. All I can do is look at myself and think, what am I not doing right here? And that's what we're talking about: Rashford and Højlund and Xerxes. I'm obviously doing something.
Did you get your agent to phone the manager?
No, I wasn't one of those. I was one of those players who would go and see the manager, but come out, particularly Arsene, who was really good at it, coming out of the meeting thinking, he hasn't answered my question, but I dare go in again. He was one of these managers who was very bright at that, but just seeing me care about it maybe really just need the kick up the backside you need, I think, for players. And I think at times managers do is just to get a test out of them to see, actually, are you with me or not? And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do cope with this, but it obviously didn't work. But, for me, it worked. It gave me a kick up the backside. I was back in the team, and then, the rest is history. So I just think it was an interesting dynamic to do, particularly if you're so fixed on this formation. Gyökeres isn't like Mainu, if that's the player he wants. So that's the bit I don't get. I just a bit lost on the decision making on having a player like that. But
he has made Amorim in the Premier League since the 23rd of November, Rory, 38 changes to his starting lineup. Only Chelsea and Ipswich have made more.
Det er jo også for sindssygt, altså.
Is he too experimental?
So I think that would be fine if you felt that he was closer to solving the puzzle. If you could say, okay, so what we've learned from these, 3 months that he's been in charge, we know that Amad Diallo's going to be the right-sided wing back, say, and we know that, okay, he's not perfect in that role, but Diallo's the left-sided one, and he likes De Ligt and Martinez in defence. Obviously, Martinez now looks like he's done his ACL, so that's him for the season. But there's a bit of a question mark over the third one. Could be Yoro, could be Maguire. And he's settled on, and I was going to say earlier that the thing with Mainu as a false nine is that Kobbie Mainoo's not a perfect midfielder. I think there's a belief among other teams that he's a little bit just not quite quick enough to be an absolute.
Newcastle har heller ikke signet nogen, faktisk.
But he is an extremely talented midfielder who needs to learn how to be a top-class midfielder. And you probably do that by playing him in midfield. I don't want to reveal any sort of tactical secrets, but generally, players get better when you play them in a certain position. Otherwise, like Theo, they kind of do the occasional training session as a freestyling central midfielder, and no one learns very much.
Well, we used to beat them as well. That's what always used to happen.
But it's not just damning Højlund and Xerxes. It's kind of wasting Mainu. Like Amorim should be at the stage now where he's thinking, my
Newcastle har
the best
også
I've got at the
haft
moment is
et
Mainu and Ugarte.
forfærdeligt transfervindue, faktisk.
The fact that he's still kind of fiddling around and doesn't seem to be settling on anything, that would worry me more than the fact that he's still experimenting. It's the lack of, you should be experimenting and solving certain problems as you go. Whereas if you're just continually experimenting, there's going to come a point where you don't really know what the answer is because you've forgotten what the question was.
And when you're experimenting as well, you're taking away Garnacho's strengths, you're taking away Ahmad's strengths, because all of a sudden now they're thinking, right, I'm going to link with, oh, wait a minute, it's Kobbie Mainoo. It's not a big presence. I used to love playing with Giroud, and I said this last night, didn't I, chappers, about having that link player that would get the best out of you. Now you're not just shying away from having a big presence up front. You're taking away two other strengths of your team, and now have to adapt their game, which is very unusual because now players find it hard to adapt, particularly the guys like Garnacho, who's a winger. He's going to have to play in a 10 because he's not that type of player, and he's going to be expected to link with Kobe Mainu. That's my point. I just don't understand.
I don't know how much, Chris, you've seen Højlund and Xerxes. I do feel for them a bit in all of this. Partly Xerxes' first season and just trying to get his head round what's going on and being signed for the previous manager. But when you watch Højlund, okay, he struggles to hold the ball up. You would expect him to hold the ball up better for the size that he is. But he does make a lot of runs that I think he never gets the ball. That because Manchester United in the main are so cautious and very rarely try and play a brave ball forward, he must be so frustrated.
Yeah, I always think I don't know whether it's different for centre forwards, but you have to have a consistent run of games in the team, and the 38 changes is a big deal, I think, because especially in a struggling team, it's all about at both ends of the pitch. At the back, it's about understanding, and what have you, up front, it's about combinations. And you know, when things are going well, you're virtually telepathic. You know when balls are going to come in. You know players are going to play around corners, pass, follow, 1-2s, and what have you. And Manchester United, is fair to say, are very sort of clunky and slow, and there's that uncertainty. And this is the top level. This is the highest level where, you know, he may be becoming frustrated, and he has been frustrated, and even when he's starting to make runs, then he knows the ball's not coming. So it's a massive problem. He actually seems, and I've seen more of Højlund than I have Xerxes, but Højlund seems like a really good type, good honest player. But he's never been prolific. He's never been prolific, and I do think that counts for something. You see the leagues which other leagues which he's played in.
Altså, det er vildt at sige, men jeg skulle lidt jaloux på Manchester United, som har 2 angriber.
But I do think there is something in there, and I suspect Amorim is desperate for another centre forward. Xerxes a slightly different type.
They're not going to get anyone tonight, are they? I mean, they're not.
Who knows?
Well.
I'm just looking at their performance of when they played Arsenal in the FA Cup. That team was well balanced.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I know it went down to 10 men with Darlow, but those connections, what you were just saying there, Chris, they were there. Like Fernandes was higher up the field where you want to see him, where he's going to affect the game. Garnacho was doing his thing like he does, being positive all the time. For me, even
Newcastle og Arsenal er 100% de 2 hold, som har haft det dårligste vindue. Uden tvivl. Det er også spildt, Newcastle ikke har signet nogen. De er gået af med 2 spillere. Ikke starters, men stadigvæk 2 spillere, ikke signet. Jeg har ikke engang hørt et transferrygte om Newcastle, for at være helt ærlig.
Yeah, Anthony got man of the match for Real.
I saw a load of highlights of him running the ball out of play, but I presume he played better. Apart from that, but that is worth mentioning that they have let 2 attacking players go, whatever you think of Anthony, and you know
det er altså ret
wasn't
vildt.
contributing, and they have brought none in, and I'm pretty sure that's not what they'd have. So, you know, if they'd said that to Ruben Amorim, look, we're in a week by 2 players in January, but just not bring anybody in at all. I'm pretty sure he'd have not been happy with that.
And another one they let go on loan is starting for Chelsea this evening at home to West Ham. John Southall.
Well, it is Chelsea 0, West Ham 0, but Chelsea are pushing now for this opening goal. Enzo Fernandez on the right, 12 yards out, just clipped it wide to the left-hand post. Good chance that for West Ham. One chance, Jared Bowen, shot saved at the near post by Jorgensen. Chelsea 0, West Ham 0.
Another goal between Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Which way? Rob Law.
Middlesbrough 1, Sunderland 1, and it's the boyhood Sunderland fan, now captain Dan Neil with the equaliser. A shot from distance through a crowd of bodies, and it beat Mark Travers at his front post. Whether it took a touch or not, it remains to be seen, but an equaliser for Sunderland. They're back in it. It's 1-1.
Wolfman just on Chris. He's been a bit more bearable lately, but I firmly believe he
Lad os prøve at se, hvad Arsenals fan-tv siger.
Left back. You signed a centre back to play him left back. But this is why are you experimenting on the five? Why are you buying Havertz in the 8? And
do you remember?
What are you doing?
Do you remember we was there at the press conference? So he was asked, "Why have you bought Calafiori?" And he said, "I bought Calafiori because he goes last season, and this is exactly why we should be buying a striker and that now." So I don't know if you guys remember. Was you at the conference? We was
I think Robbie went
outside.
in. Robbie went in.
This is what he said, right? He was asked by a journalist, how comes you bought Calafiori? Because you kind of got, you've kind of got centre backs. Because remember, Calafiori was a centre back. He's playing as a centre back for, is it Genoa or Bologna? Yeah, and for Italy as well. And he said, I bought in Calafiori because last year we were a bit short in the centre back here, and we got lucky. He said, because there was no injury really to Saliba or Gabriel. We got to go the whole season without injuries there. So he said, I bought in Calafiori because he can play as a centre-back and as a left-back, right? So it gives great cover for both of those areas. So that made sense. But why have we not done the same in the attacking?
That's what doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't make no sense.
The media have dropped with the Martins of Mendy in the summer. But again, like, if you're wanting a striker so much, it's so evident we need one. I'm not saying this is against PR to appease the fans. Why are they not say in the summer that we're close to agreeing with a striker? I know we need a striker now, but there's no attention or like push. It doesn't feel like enough for a striker apart from these ITKs. It's not coming from the club. So what's I don't understand it. I don't understand that.
Jake Upton says, Robbie, you say this, but Villa needed a centre-back because the only one fit right now is Konsa, so they're addressing their issues, unlike Arsenal. Yeah, that's why they have bought in Disassi. I mean, he's not the greatest player in the world, but Jack says, all it takes is 1 or 2 more injuries and it's game over. That's the other thing. What if Ethan Wanyeri did get injured? What if Havertz picks up an ACL, God forbid, or Martinelli is out with a hamstring injury? Then what? That can easily happen in match games to play. Wilson Clan says, no deals. Okay, we weren't buying anyone. We ain't buying any merch. It's now straight business. We are fans, not customers. Big up to Turkish. Abby's angle says, if Mikel has no plan to buy a striker, why did he sell Cheeto? He didn't sell Cheeto.
Yeah, we had no choice on that one.
He had no choice in that one. Cheeto's was on a scholarship and decided to walk away, which he has the choice to do. He could have had the same pathway as Ethan and MLS. He left because he wasn't promised a pathway into the senior squad. I'll tell you another player who I saw play in the youth league. I thought it was quite impressive. That Mika Beriev. He went on loan to Sturm Graz. Then he was bought permanently. He's a striker. They sold him literally straight away now to Monaco, with which, by the way, Arsenal have got a big sell-on in that. And, in his first game for Monaco, he scored a hat-trick. We could have done with him. Sonny says, Robbie, big up from Tampa. Been a Gooner since 7.
Altså det er lige før, jeg synes, en catcher...
brought us back into the competition circle.
Hvis de havde lejet en catcher, så ville jeg ikke engang... Altså, det er ikke en great deal for Arsenal, men så havde de det mindste cover for Kai Havertz.
Says, God help us if Kai gets injured, and if so, what are our options up front? I don't know, maybe he's going to play Marino up there. I want to hear Turkish, my man, to answer this one. What I mean, if Kai Havertz gets up front, the guy's asking, what are our options?
If he gets injured, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you're asking me. I'm like,
no, he's just asking you. He's just
like, well, we need a striker regardless of that. Like, I don't understand this whole telling strikers apparently that you're going to be behind Havertz. That doesn't make sense to me. A striker needs to come in and be, taking that position and making it their own. I don't believe none of this nonsense, man. You think Sesko's going to be scared to take the position of Kai? Kai's not even a striker. So all this noise and stuff, it's hard to really take serious, man. So yeah, without. But the fact of the matter is, we knew we needed a striker December the 20th, the day before Saka got injured. The expectation was this club needs to sign a striker before Saka got injured.
Before
the season started.
Can I just raise one more point really quickly? I was just thinking when you're talking about needing a striker. So if they say Arsenal keep their powder dry, whatever that means for the summer. What does that mean? It means they're clearly trying to just keep their resources for the summer where they could do the business they want to do. Hold on a sec. Let's do some maths. We want Zubimendi because we're losing Jorginho and probably Partey. That's £50 million.
Which we should be offering another contract.
Sesko is going to be no less than 50 million because that was his release clause last time and he's signed a new deal. So that's going to be about 70. It's £120 million. We also know we need probably a winger as well. and maybe another creative player. We're already £120 million in. So all this, we want the perfect player here, the perfect player there, the perfect player there. That's going to cost you 300-400 million. Even I'm not unreasonable enough to ask that. So somewhere along the line, there's got to be a £30 million addition that does a job, a £45 million player that you know covers a couple positions, maybe isn't a starter but plays a part. Why could that signing have not been this month? Why was there not anyone that was like, because squad building isn't just we're always spending £70 million on every player to continue to improve things. There's got to be players. That's why I didn't hate on the Calafiori and Marino signings, because I thought, yeah, well, we needed depth in those positions. They come in, they add to the squad, but you only actually accept those if you do the other business you need to. That's a far higher priority.
But to do that, you have to make sales, right? You're saying about 300 million or 100 million, but obviously to balance that out, you make sales to kind of make that obviously that fee less and less. But I'm just trying to think, Rob, what happened to all those sales, like rumours, Kieran, there's Zinchenko, and is that just are we keeping them now then?
No, Kieran Tierney, Celtic wanted to take Kieran Tierney now, and Arsenal refused to let him leave because obviously they want bodies. And also the same with Jorginho. Flamengo over in Brazil, they wanted him. They wouldn't let him go. And the thing is, James, what you said there is true. But also, the amount of players that are going to be leaving where their contracts expire in the summer is going to free up. They're going to have a lot of money in the summer. That's going to be another interesting one to watch, right? Because the wage bill,
I don't think so.
Is going to be greatly. They're going to have a lot of money in the summer.
Yeah, but from wage,
Thomas Partey's going to go.
No?
He's on 200 grand a week. He's going to be going. Jorginho's on £100,000 a week. He's going.
That's going.
Kieran Tierney's on £100,000 a week.
That money's going to Saliba, Saka, Odegaard.
Kieran Tierney, he's going.
Right?
You know,
he's injured. Yeah.
Honestly, like they're going to have money. I'm just going back to it, right? I was just thinking, like, again, forward players were light, yeah. I still can't understand how comes we didn't bring back Fabio Vieira. There's also
good point.
I've got his name now, Lazio.
Nuno Tavares.
Nuno Tavares has been having a good season. Rather than nothing. What's it to bring them back?
Look at us. Fabio Vieira and Nuno Tavares.
No, I'm saying.
Look at us.
Back to the future, bro. Or something
no,
look
Rob. Look at us.
Listen.
Look where we're at. Rob.
That's not ideal. But they'd have nothing.
No, the Vieira want to hear you.
I don't even hear the Vieira one. I don't hear it.
Nuno Tavares has been having
play where? Fabio Vieira to play where?
Nuno Tavares has been having a way better season than Fabio. He's been doing very well at Lazio. They want to buy him on a permanent deal.
Yeah, but
if we're short, I'm just saying, rather than nothing, what happens if there's some injuries to these players? I don't listen. We should be buying players. Or loaning, but how we got players out on loan then, and we're going to
1-0 til West Ham.
They don't. Let me. There's so many super chats. Let me get through some more. Chris Fraser says the Cronkies only want top 4. Simple. These younger fans are going to find out. They're going to learn a hard lesson that us older fans have known for decades. Once players like Saliba and Saka leaves because we win nothing. Sam Smith says. You all need to apologise to Turkey. She's the only one that sees it for what it is. The club know we are short and they have done nothing. Criminal.
West Ham are 1-0 up.
West Ham are 1-0 up, okay.
Yes, Chelsea.
Kieran says Watkins looks more and more like a PR stunt so they can say that they tried just seems like negligence everyone can see what we need. Lawrence Emmanuel says on the front of my Arsenal shirt is a cannon because I follow Arsenal FC. Unlike the deluded AKBs in our fan base who have a Spanish clown, oh my God, on their shorts because they think this is Arteta FC on their shorts. Perry says, do you think Delap for 40 million would have done a job? I don't think Delap would have been sold. I don't think Delap would have been sold.
Not for 40 million.
No, Ipswich.
They signed him for a lot, I think.
Yeah, and plus as well, Ipswich, they'll go down without Delap. They're probably going to go down anyway. That's why they couldn't get Cunha. Cunha did want to join Arsenal, but you're never going to get him because they're in a relegation battle Wolves. And that Cunha deal, we all know that he's going in the summer.
Yeah,
it's a deal just to raise his wage up until he can walk away in the summer on a release clause. Today's laugh says, have you not realised yet? We have a stadium upgrade to pay for. Expect to hear this soon. All the best.
No, don't read that.
Right. Gucci Bucket Hat says, with this super chat, I spent more than Arsenal in January. And it was a $1.99 super chat, and he's right. He spent more than Arsenal did. Callie's Corner says, thanks for keeping it real, Turkish. Appreciate it. Dutty Biggs says, Stan Kroenke literally said that he didn't buy Arsenal to win trophies, and now we're puzzled that they don't want this. They don't want to win no trophies.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Pop says, brothers, we should have done a charity stream for the Kroenkes and donated to buy even just some cover for our attackers. Gucci Bucket Hat says, Arsenal are the only club who don't reward you for overcoming adversity. It's almost like we are obsessed with trying to win with having less.
To hear it.
That's the point. Alex says, I think our wages are so high that could be hindering us transfer-wise. Big up to the panel.
Ours isn't that high compared to... If you go to other clubs, it's not actually that high. It's some of the players that are on that money is not under...
What saves that was? James Bond says Cecil was flown out to LA and dined with the Kroenkes. Turkish said he wants them out. You did a top boat. Man, so I've got shut up, youths. You wasn't flown out to LA.
I was not flown out. I'm not a bad bee, bro.
Was he flown out to dine with the Kroenkes?
It was a coincidence they were there.
Man was flown out, you know. That is a sad story.
They're going to run that narrative now.
Oh, my days. Gunatel says we should have gone in well over the top to get Sesko and Williams. We wouldn't need to buy in the summer.
Wasn't it Gunatel?
Yeah.
So we have one tell today.
Men jeg ved ikke, hvordan økonomien fungerer
the
der.
Champions League with them making the free. Gary Rickwood says maybe top players don't want to join us. Paul S says Arteta will walk in the summer. Him and Rice publicly asked for signings in the last few weeks. Rohill says the reason the Kroenkes are happy with top four is they have no ambition. Lawrence Emmanuel, what happens if Sterling gets injured? Then we're really well and truly effed.
Sterling.
He produced much since he's been here, to be fair. Goyard Glow, Arteta doesn't want to jeopardize Havertz's position. GF says Arteta went to La Masia and worked under Pep. They believe in passing the ball in the net, passing the ball into the net, I think is what he's trying to say. That's why they never prioritise strikers. Well, listen, they got Haaland. Pep's got Haaland, and now he's brought in Mamouche. Paul S., if the owners are not supporting Mikel and the team is disappointed. Nino says 5 years and no recognised striker. Mikel Arteta is to blame. Aaron, we had a chance to do something special. Now we look let down again. Michael says, who James think will sign at this moment in time?
No one.
Do you have it?
I don't even think Isak, Sesko, all that stuff in the summer. Isak's going to cost 200 million.
Isak's not
minimum. We need to let that one go. It's actually getting a bit stalkerish.
It's very weird
about him.
It's very weird.
It's constantly, but
Isak kommer aldrig til Arsenal.
He's not going to come.
Det er stensikkert. Jeg tror ikke på det.
Red Dust says it's like
det er Osimhen.
Is playing like in hardcore mode.
Strict
referee settings and doing the win the league without a striker challenge. Got to respect the grind though. Tom L says, yeah, but the thing is, if you look back, when we've been close to City, we've never had a high goal-scoring strikers. Maybe that's why we didn't get past them. The problem now is that the players who used to score for us aren't scoring anymore, like Odegaard. Big up to Nick Howard with a super chat.
Ja, det er måske dumt at se Ødegaard ikke score, når han scorede mod City.
That is a good question now.
There are questions around that.
JS says Arteta sold Aubameyang and didn't replace him, sack him. Yoki says we didn't have a sporting director, I think is what he's trying to say. It's affected our window. That is true again. There's questions to be answered there.
Does the whole script go out the window once Edu leaves or something? Is one man the fucking key holder or what?
He isn't, but who's running the...
Arteta, he's the manager.
Yeah, he is. Arteta
Remember,
who's the guy? You can be a manager.
Yeah.
But who's the guy out there, the sporting director, the guy spotting the, liaising with the scouts?
For me, the manager, it's the manager's job.
He's on guard.
It's the manager's job. The
En time tilbage. 1 time og 10 minutter.
And then he gives it to the next
Kommer ikke til
person
at
to
ske mere,
potentially
tror
get a
jeg.
deal done. Maybe that's where.
Det tror jeg
But
sgu ikke.
there's no evidence to say anything about sporting that. All I know is we tried to push onto Wenger as sporting director, and he said, what do they do? Direct traffic, right? We went from that to letting him go. Emery comes in as head coach, our first head coach, right? Then Arteta comes in after Emery, head coach. 6 months in, that summer, he's made manager. For me, the key reason, or what people told me the key reasoning behind the difference between a manager and a head coach is a manager has a lot more responsibility.
Correct.
And over the years, you've seen that in Arteta. You've seen that in All or Nothing. In All or Nothing, Edu, Tim Lewis, and whatever other...
Richard Garlick, all them man.
All of them man. They all sat in a room saying this guy wants to get rid of Oba. And essentially all of them were against it. But guess what? We got rid of Oba. Because Arteta wanted it. So Arteta's got power at this club. Ultimately, the owners are the reason for the constant failure, the constant never getting over the line. But Arteta has got some responsibility. He's the second highest paid manager in the world. Like Wenger used to be the highest paid in the world, whilst we paid the highest ticket prices and we finished top 4. No sense. Now Arteta is the second paid highest manager in the world, above Ancelotti, above Simeone, above Slot, who's above him right now.
Jeg kan godt lide ham.
Okay.
Han er ret. Turkish er ret.
There isn't many good owners right now, though, in Premier League football.
Skal vi lige se, hvad de siger over United?
I mean, what a pick. Anyway, he said to me last week, he says, I want to go and watch, I want to go again. And I was like, okay, we'll have a look at that. So I was having a look at some fixtures, and he was like, I want to go where you get the dinner first. So it's like hospitality, isn't it? You can go, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can go Red Cafe. You just get some food before. He likes the whole build up. So I was like, okay, let's do that. Can't get anything. Nothing between now and the end of the season. It's all gone. So United are absolutely shit.
Jeg føler kun, det er City og Aston Villa, der kan være tilfreds med det her transfervindue.
Most of our games, home games, are still virtually sold out. And they're ending the lesson. Play shit and they will come. There is no stop to this money coming in for these owners, and they know it. And they know that if we had 100,000 capacity, they'd still fill it for Leicester on Friday as well, because they will still come. They will still come. I would still go. I'd have bought a ticket. So how do you stop that? Liverpool got Hicks and Gillette out and it nearly finished the club. United are on the same trajectory, says Seamus. Mark, you've really nailed it, says Rob. And hi, Mark, if we get a new stadium, we will never be able to sell the club because it's going to add 2 billion in debt, total 3 billion, and no one will clear it. Watch tomorrow morning, mate. You're not actually right. Glazers waiting for Divendino to come back, says Wade. And will we know the outcome of next season before it even starts after this summer's transfer window, says Spin. Any injury to Ahmad or Garnacho and we're in big trouble. Mate, it's so true. It's such a scary but true point, Ali. Should we try Obi Martin? Yeah, I can't wait for us to chuck a 17-year-old up front, and then when he misses a sitter, everyone can burn him as well. It terrifies me that this is the answer that some people have got.
De har lidt det samme issue, både United og City.
Wouldn't give them the steam off my piss. And they were basically saying, the season's over anyway.
Forskellen er bare, at Arsenal har stadigvæk Champions League. De har stadigvæk potentielt mesterskabet. Jeg kunne forstå, hvis Arsenal var i samme situation som United, så var der ikke grund til at spendere så meget. Så kunne man bruge pengene på at få nogle unge talenter ind og rebuilde. Det er jo ikke det, Arsenal er. De jagter noget. Så jeg synes faktisk, at Arsenal er et væsentligt dårligere stillet end United.
Because everyone will be cheering them and clapping and holding hands. I wish it was as easy just to throw the kids in, but I've never. When has this ever been a thing to do this? I remember Ollie doing it final day once. Clash of 92 against Aston Villa. Oh, what? With Roy Keane, Premier League winner. Peter Schmeichel, Premier League winner. Dennis Irwin, Premier League winner. Yeah, we did throw the kids in that day. We got beat as well, but they were surrounded by experienced Premier League world-class players. Let's throw kids in to the shittest United side ever that's going for our worst ever Premier League points total and worst ever tally of losses in a season. I tell you what, why not do it? How could it fail? But you know what it does do? The fact that people are talking about that, it actually exposes what a fucking mess we're in. What an absolute shit show it is. Because it is. It really is. A Garnacho or Ahmad injury away from chaos. Rahul says Glazers out, movement needs to start again. Josh says I can sort you out. Tickets in hospitality. Send me a message. Thanks, Josh. Mark, you have such a big reach. Can you not start something against the Glazers? Dejan, this sort of thing annoys me as well. We did a video last week explaining PSR in a way that nobody has been asked to do. Step 1. Tomorrow, why the Glazers won't sell Man United. Step 2. There's other things we're trying to do as well, but we can't do it on our own. All right, it's a big community, but there's also people who hate this community. So unless those people are willing to join forces and talk, then nothing will happen. I know as well as you know, I can't go and go, let's start doing this. Let's have a protest because people will go, Forest fan. So, look, I'm real. I think we've always been willing to support things and we've always said this protest, that protest. But if other groups and people aren't willing to come together, then it will never work, Dejan. And that is very sad. But we will support things. We always have supported things. And we've had conversations and everything with groups before. And we will do again. But at the moment, I can tell you there's nothing planned around protests and stuff like that. It's very quiet at the moment, isn't it? Samuel Luckhurst is the worst spin doctor ever, says Matthew. He's a terrible journalist, mate. He's a terrible analysis of football, and he's a terrible journalist, in my opinion, because he just puts rubbish out there. He doesn't ask questions of the people who are giving him the information. And he's not the only one. He's not the only one.
Every competition, we go out in the next round of 16 in Champions League, we go out in the League Cup and we drop away from the top spot. And then they say, oh, don't worry, you got ISAC coming in the summer. I'm just like, that
the here and now.
Me.
The here and now is very important in football.
Yeah.
It's always easy to feel like there's more time. There's always next year. There's always another summer. Now we can talk about it from the Saliba Saka perspective. But there's just always more. Who thought that Klopp would leave and Liverpool were going to be immediately just running away with the title? So we had that summer or that season now where we thought City would slip up or we'd be ready, but we weren't ready, and another team were. And so our here and now is already being missed when it comes to the Premier League. And there's still other ways to salvage this season. I don't think the club are doing anywhere near enough. Not last summer, not in previous summers and windows, certainly not this January, to give this manager and the players all the help they need. However, this manager, maybe in January I'll excuse Arteta because the way he spoke and he clearly wanted a striker. But in previous windows, he's clearly not made that a priority position himself.
Ben Chilwell's gone to Crystal Palace.
Errol 023 says, what happened to our amazing scouting network? Napsa says, how loud would we be if we still had Bukayo and we was 6 points clear? Is there a preferred new ownership? How about going on Dragons Den? Lester says, anybody mentioned Takehiro Tomiyasu? A miss and out.
Yeah, where is he?
Alexander John says, who cares about our summer signings? Odds are we'll be focused on replacing Saliba when he clears off to Madrid. Jabak says Spurs got someone who told him to piss off.
That's what I was laughing at earlier. It's so true.
Yeah. Merwan says, seems like Arteta has already given up on this season and focusing on the next. He knows he cannot go over the line.
That's unacceptable.
End the season now. That would
I don't believe that's true, by the way, but that would be unacceptable.
But he is, if you're not bringing no one in, you ain't given up, but it's like you're just hoping and praying now. Because you know, all right, let's just say the Champions League, you know if you get, I don't want to even say a Real Madrid or something, you know if you play against Juventus. They've got a better attack than us. We're in trouble. You're not giving yourself, and we could be playing Juventus or AC Milan in that next round of the Champions League.
AC Milan.
Almost every team,
player for player, are we better than them? We might be, but not much better.
I don't think we're better
than the top
15,
15 clubs in the Premier League. Yeah, up front three.
If you went, got
three now.
Yeah, we're not in the front three. We're not.
So you're just
let's
hoping,
play a little game.
You're hoping, like, you know.
Bro, it's
Dennis says, when is Yardman coming for Turkish's cup of tea? Blue Creek says that Havertz's goal buried our transfer business. Ben A says, no excuse not to get cover if we're a serious club. We all know how this ends. Do you think, here's another conspiracy theory, do you think the fact that we won that game and the manner that we won that game, they might have sat there and thought,
Nah.
If they did, they're a joke.
That's embarrassing. There's no way.
Can I say something?
I'm being serious now.
I've never been.
There's no way.
I've never been as strong about the owners as Turkish. We all know that. I've never been that kind of set on whether I think they're a good or a bad thing for this club. But I think the summer window we just had and this window is a really damning indictment of their true ambitions for this football club. I think that is a really, really bad mark against them, in my opinion. The lack of activity in the summer in key areas, the lack of spending beyond a net spend of 5 million, or do we make a profit of 5 million? Something like that. And then to go into this window, see Gabi Jesus, ACL injury, Gabi Jesus. He's not back till January next year. Bukayo Saka already was playing too much, 2-3 months out with a seriously bad torn hamstring. Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz being played through, into the ground, and then Raheem Sterling as a loan who's been a disaster, let's call it as it is. So already we're too light. Let's ask our 17-year-old to stop being the backup to Ødegaard that he's already shouldn't really be, and ask him to be actually the replacement Bukayo Saka. My understanding of the Kroenke's ambition for this club after these last two windows is in serious doubt, because I thought they did good work. I did, along with everyone else at the club, to get us back to where we needed to be. But maybe what you were theorising was right. Back to square one. Do all this just to get back to where we were. Champions League football, somewhat competitive. We're doing all right.
It's not maybe no more, man. It's a fact. Trust me. I know you said this is a big mark on their name, but bro, you're a smart guy. They invested into a club that just in the Champions League final and a few years off the Invincibles with the best ever Premier League player of all time in Henry, plus multiple legends across the board, right? That's what they invested in, 9%, something like that. Initially, it quickly rose to 30 and 60% over the next 10 years, right? Across those years, we became a top 4 team. The excuse was paying off the stadium, whilst also being told that once it's paid off, we're competing with Bayern Munich and so on. Whilst that was happening, Wenger's contracts kept on increasing in value, but our performances on the pitch kept on declining. Make that make sense? Shield. That's the only way that makes sense, right? Because how can a manager be going backwards, but you're giving him more money? Yeah, he was the perfect shield for all of the nonsense. Yeah, then just recently the Usmanov stuff happens and they get 100% of it. But Stan, by this point, Stan's come out with, I didn't buy this club to win trophies, right? So you have to put a new face to it. Who better than my son? There you go, Josh, be the new face. He comes out and says, be excited. We signed Pepe a few weeks later. 7 years on, nothing. So at the end of the day, it's not just one mark against these owners. These owners are the mark, the stain, the rot, the poison at this club.
Og den er ikke live længere.
There was lots of other Premier League interest, but he flew into Farnborough Airport earlier on today, and we've been awaiting an update on a medical and also for a bit more information on what this deal would look like. So for Tottenham fans following this one, it looks like it is a loan deal, but with an option to buy. Another update which we can bring you this evening is on Radu Dragusin, who we understand has suffered an ACL injury and is expected to undergo surgery later this week. Obviously, huge disappointment for Spurs injury-wise, so this further disappointment on that front. Now the club hoping to sign another defender. We wait to see, can they get it done in the next 2 hours?
We'll keep a close eye on it with you, Eleanor. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Tottenham, one of the clubs we're following very closely then clearly tonight. Let's have a chat, first of all, about Matis Tel. Then, Michael, I'll come to you. It's your old club. A few days ago, it seemed like he didn't want the move. Now he's on the verge of a move. What do you make of this U-turn?
It's been very interesting few days. I was sat in here on Saturday and it looked like he was going to Manchester United. It looked like he'd rejected the opportunity to go to Spurs, and it's amazing. Monday night, deadline day's coming up. Maybe he was just sounding everything out, looking around and seeing what the best options were for him. You've got to realise he's still only 19 years of age, and last season he made an awful lot of appearances for
Hvis de
Bayern
får en
Munich.
buy option på
Few
ham,
and
så
far
er
between this year.
det,
And I think
så er det sgu
I think it's a great fit for both parties. I really do. We need to go and play some game time, and I think where Spurs are at now, anywhere across the front three that they play with, whether it be Sonside, Kulusevski, or even through the middle with no Dominic Solanke, he can play in any one of those positions. So, young player. Hopefully he can come and it'll be done for Spurs, because I think it'll be a good signing for them.
So something of an irony that when Harry Kane was at Tottenham, they
Især
couldn't
hvis
find
de
a
får en
suitable
buy option på
understudy.
ham.
Now his understudy at Bayern, who can't get into the team because of Harry Kane, is coming to Spurs to possibly be their main striker ultimately. What about this as a move for him in a team that likes to play attacking football? Is this a good move for him?
Yeah, well, I was quite surprised when he'd obviously come out. Was it Friday night when we thought, is he going to go somewhere else? Is he going to go to Manchester United? I know the position that Tottenham are in, all of the injuries that they've had, but you just thought once those injured players come back fit, the way that Tottenham like to play,
Hvis
if you're
Tottenham
an attacking player, you'd probably want to play in
får
that
ham
sort of side. 19 years old,
på en
so
låneaftale
he's obviously not playing enough football where he is at the moment, so he's going to
og
want to
får
come,
en
he's gonna
buy
wanna
option
play.
på ham,
The fact that he can play in different positions,
så synes jeg, det er godkendt.
out, and you just feel because of the injuries, will he get that opportunity?
Men det var derfor United ikke ville have ham, fordi de ikke kunne få det, som jeg forstår det.
Hard hitting the ground running in the Premier League. I think that's probably my only, to come in as a young man. But he seems to be somebody that's full of confidence and belief in his own ability, though.
I think he will. I think he'll come straight in and be in the fold. You look with, because no Solanke, Richarlison's having to be changed. You've got Dane Scarlett, who's
Hvor lang tid er Solanke ude?
Season played last week in Europe and he scored his goal. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer for Spurs.
They had to get someone.
What's that?
They had to get someone.
Yeah. Oh, they had to try and bring some positivity around. There's been so much negativity around the place for recent months because of the results. And they've been plagued by injuries, and Ange has had so many challenges along the way. He gets one back, and now you hear Dragison's done his ACL, and it's like another long-term injury. So it's been challenging. They'll come out the other side. Big game on Thursday night, which I've got everything crossed for. I might need it going to Anfield. Could be interesting, but yeah, I think it's a real positive signing for him.
Yeah. Young player at Bayern Munich, has been linked with Arsenal, has been linked with Manchester United, and it looks like he's going to Tottenham. Is this something of a coup for Spurs?
It is. It didn't look like it on Friday. He wasn't interested. He said he would rather go to Man United, Aston Villa.
Would that worry you?
It wouldn't worry me. It wouldn't worry me. He's just done a U-turn, and as it happened, probably those other clubs maybe couldn't get the deal done. If he goes and signs for Tottenham, he has to be committed to Tottenham. That could happen all the time with loads of transfers with young players. He's exciting though. I've seen him at Bayern Munich. He can't get in the team. They've got Harry Kane in there. He's not going to get in there. Got Elise, you got Gnabry, you got the likes of Kingsley Coman, Leroy Sané. It's always going to be difficult to get into that squad, but it's exciting for Tottenham. They needed a number 9 to compete with Dominic Solanke, but he can, as Dor said, he can play anywhere across that front three. I think it's a really good signing, not just for now, for the future as well. Don't judge him after 3 or 4 games. Tottenham fans, don't judge him after that. He's a young lad. He's coming to the best league there in the world, so it's going to take time to adjust. But I think it's a really exciting signing for Tottenham.
From Manchester United's perspective, I mentioned they were apparently interested. That interest ended apparently because Bayern wanted a £5 million loan fee with no buy clause in the deal. I think the talk is this would be a loan to Spurs with the option.
Derfor jeg ikke forstår, hvordan han så...
In the summer, Chris. Is this a player you think Manchester United should have pursued
Tottenham
more vigorously?
I don't know what's going on at Manchester United. I mean, they played a midfielder up front at the weekend ahead of their 2 strikers. I don't know. I mean, when you look at Manchester United, they're scrambling about trying to get something to work, but it's they're struggling.
But they need more experience. They've got 2 young strikers up front already.
Yeah, they have, but I mean, none of them played at the weekend. Kobe Mainoo started as a main striker, another youngster. So where does that leave the strikers? You know, they must be looking at it saying, there's a midfielder.
Jeg tror, vinduet er slut nu. Jeg kan ikke rigtig se... der er ikke noget... Jeg kan ikke lige se noget her på X, der indikerer noget andet.
I'm not going to Tottenham. Then the next minute it looks as if it's Man United. Now I'm back at Tottenham. There was links with Arsenal there as well. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Tell's obviously decided that Tottenham's the best move for him. It gives him the best opportunity to go and probably get regular football. I think it's a lot easier to settle in London as well. So, I mean, he'll be looking forward to the challenge, and I'm sure, you know, with Ange Postecoglou, as you mentioned there as well, with the attacking style of play that he's got, it's a good opportunity for the kid to come in and you know, and start scoring goals.
Spurs looking to do some late business tonight to a team that has kept us very busy this month, Vicky.
Indeed. It has, because it's Aston Villa, and their transfer window has been full of twists and turns, hasn't it? It's not over yet, despite the signing of Marco Asensio. Let's cross live to Villa Park and speak to Kirsty Edwards, who's been there for us all day. So good to see you, Kirsty, as always. Asensio is in. Do you think that's the end of the matter as regards to people coming into the club?
No, I don't think Villa are done just yet. They've been trying to get a centre-back in, and they are working very hard to get a deal for Axel Disasi over the line. It's a name we've heard a lot today. Certainly this morning, he looked a good
Han er heller ikke med
heading to
i
Villa.
Chelsea-kampen.
We knew that he was keen to come here, but the deal was on and off, on and off. We at one point looked like he was going to Tottenham, then to neither club at all. I think the issue has been the negotiations between the two clubs, between Aston Villa and Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea were keen to see him go to a side that they see as direct competitors for a Champions League place. There were issues over the financial details as well, but it looks like they have been sorted out, and Villa could well make another signing, another loan signing, the third in 2 days before the deadline tonight. So we'll wait to see if there is an official statement from them. It's important because, of course, Diego Carlos left for Fenerbahce earlier in the window. They're short in defensive options because of injuries to Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings as well. So, yeah, Axel Disasi could be the man. The club are working hard to get this deal over the line before tonight's deadline.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Kirsty. And whilst Kirsty has been talking, Carve Solokol has joined me. You're right.
I was just driven from Stamford Bridge.
Well, all right, calm down, catch your breath. You're all
Normally
right.
when I go to a football game, I like to actually stay and watch the game.
Well, I know, I'm sorry, but actually it's 1-0 to West Ham at the moment, as I've been told. Or have Chelsea's equalised yet?
Have they?
I don't know. My thing won't update, my phone won't update. No, they haven't. It's still 1-0 to West Ham. Anyway, that's not why you're here. I know you've been into the bridge all day, but what's happening there at the moment? Because Axel Disasi,
Stadigvæk 1-0 til West Ham.
Yeah, look, Axel Disasi, you know, big things were expected of him when Chelsea signed him 2.5 years ago for, I think, around 35, 40 million pounds. But he's basically been told that he can move out on loan. His representatives have been in talks with Aston Villa and Spurs. I think Chelsea were quite keen for him to move to Spurs because they see Aston Villa as a direct rival for a Champions League place. But I think the player himself preferred to move to Aston Villa. And that is now been agreed.
Champions League.
To Aston Villa on loan.
Champions League fodbold. Jeg vil også vælge Champions League fodbold.
Loan fee of around £5 million. It's actually quite interesting because the sort of senior people at Chelsea didn't really know what was going on with Disasi because they'd left it to him and his representatives to sort out a loan move. They told them what they would accept, and Villa have now agreed to pay what Chelsea wanted.
Chelsea taber i aften.
That could be leaving as well. But we know Maresca was, you know, not necessarily trying to trim everything, but trying to get the players that he really wants.
Well, look,
at Chelsea.
some good players have left.
Yeah.
Carney Chukwuemeka has signed on loan for Borussia Dortmund. He wanted to go to Borussia Dortmund. He had lots of other options. Ben Chilwell, very, very close to moving to Crystal Palace on loan. No option or obligation. It would just be a loan until the end of the season. The other one to really look out for is João Felix. I mean, this guy, a couple of years ago, people were saying he's the next big thing in world football. He's the new...
He came back, hadn't he? He'd returned. So
he's been
Det er så mærkeligt, at de
har a lot of conspiracy theorists were saying it's strange that he's coming to Chelsea from Atletico Madrid at the same time as Chelsea are trying to sell Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid. So I'm not sure what was really going on there, but he hasn't been playing regularly in the Premier League for Chelsea. He wanted to go to AC Milan. There were reports that he was in Milan last night, apparently watching the Milan derby. Now, this evening, Sky Italy are telling us that he's just arriving in Milan tonight. And I think he will be moving on loan again. Milan will be paying a big loan fee, I think probably around £5 million. And they will have an option to buy him in the summer.
All right, you can settle yourself down. You're done for now. Thanks, Carvey.
Let's chat about Villa with our guests then. Rashford in on loan, Asensio in, Marlon in from Dortmund. And if they could bring Disasi in as well to strengthen at centre-back with Mings out injured particularly, would that complete a good window for them? A very good window, an excellent window? What would you say, Chris?
Very good, very good. Obviously, if they can keep Ollie Watkins as well, that doesn't look as if anything's got to materialise there. Lost Duran and got a lot of money in from him, and it looks as if they spent it wisely. I know with Rashford because he's been here and the other ones, but I think the Asensio one for me could be a shrewd bit of business. You know, when you look what he achieved at Real Madrid, yes, you know, he played a lot last year for PSG. It's not really happened this year for him, but you know, it's a good opportunity, a good age, 29-year-old, want to come and show that he's, you know, I mean, how many Champions League winners medals has he got? So he's not coming here. You know, he's experienced, and he could be a big signing for Aston Villa going forward.
Yeah, on that and on Rashford, and no denying some of the great times they've both had in their careers, Clinton, but Rashford's not kicked a ball since mid-December. Asensio's played 7 minutes since early December. How much of a difference can they actually make in the space of what is really 3.5 months?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Jules, but they'll get up to speed. They will get up to speed. They'll be training and play, you know, arrange games and stuff like that. But they'll be all right. Asensio, they both look after themselves. They're both professionals at the moment. You okay?
Sue's cracking open a tinny already?
Yeah, you're right, Sue. Sure you're okay, Sue?
Just enjoying the show.
Okay, just enjoying it. But yeah,
it is water. I should stress it's
she's
water.
celebrating. She's celebrating.
Not even started talking about Everton.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think they're good signings, and I think both can come in there and hit the ground running. The thing they've got is Unai Emery is a brilliant manager. I think he'll get the best. I think Marcus Rashford just needs to be loved, and I think he'll get loving from him. But he has to start producing now. This is a club that he said, obviously, when he knew they were interested, he wanted to go to Aston Villa. As I said, I want Marcus Rashford to go and deliver. I want to see the Marcus Rashford that's playing with a smile on his face. But me and Boydie were saying, Asensio is a really good signing. He can play anywhere across that. I don't think he's an out-and-out number 9. So I think that's Ollie Watkins, and no one else will play there. I know he come off with an injury the other day, but he can play anywhere across that front three, even in the number 10 row. I think both of those signings are really positive for Aston Villa.
How big a difference do you think a change of scene could make for Marcus Rashford? Will it be different at Villa than it was in the last year or so at United, do you think so?
I hope so, because I think we all want to see the best of Marcus Rashford, because I think we know what he's capable of. We've seen that when he's gone and produced 30+ goals in a season, and I think, you know, having sort of a manager in Unai Emery who we know can get the best out of players, and he can develop players. He can. I think, you know, players maybe that aren't playing at the potential, you just feel, can he bring that out of him? And yeah, I really hope it does work for him. So I agree with the guys. I think, you know, Aston Villa have had a decent transfer window. I think if they can bring in a centre-back as well, I think that will certainly help. But yeah, from a Marcus Rashford perspective, I just feel, I think he came out initially, didn't he, and said, I want a new challenge, I want a fresh challenge. Then I think when a manager comes out and, I suppose, criticises you publicly, that's difficult, isn't it? And then I think as time then went on, I was thinking, is he going to actually stay? Because he then came out and said, actually, Manchester United are a better team with Marcus Rashford in there. So it was quite bizarre how all of that happened. So I think for him as a player, and for the club Manchester United as well, because if he goes to Aston Villa and does really, really well, then obviously that's going to, you know, add money to if they do sell him.
I think he has to do well.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not worked for him now in a few months. You know, and there's been 2 or 3 managers as well, and we all speak about Unai Emery and the job that he's done at Aston Villa, and he's seen as, you know, someone who can develop players and make them better. It's over to Marcus Rashford. Yeah. He's been given a lifeline here, because it could have been quite easy if he had to move abroad as well. It's difficult to settle in. You know, it's not far, Manchester to Birmingham. It's got an opportunity to kick on.
It's over to Marcus Rashford. It's over to Vicky. We've got breaking news.
Oh, yes.
Breaking news.
Very similar. We are. Right, Ipswich needed to address an issue, didn't they, with conceding goals, and there is some breaking news surrounding that. Paul Gilmore has got the details. What can you tell us, Paul?
Well, Vicky, Ipswich have signed a goalkeeper. Alex Palmer has joined from West Brom. The deal is 3.5 years, taking him to the summer of 2028. An initial fee of £2 million. It has the potential to rise to over £4 million with add-ons, and it was a key area for Kieran McKenna because they've had some struggles there. Aram Muric is badly out of form. Christian Walton is injured, and Palmer is viewed as a really consistent and experienced performer. He's very popular with West Brom fans, and he has a lot of experience. And so he comes in. We're expecting him to actually play right away. He's coming in to be right in contention and to really put that stake out claim for the position even when Walton comes back from injury. So he's just come from the Championship. He has no plans to go back there.
Certainly hasn't. Okay, brilliant.
Alex, welcome to Ipswich Town. How's the day been?
Yeah, hectic, but that's football. I think it's an exciting time for me to embrace a new challenge. So yeah, excited to be here.
I mean, it's great that you're excited to be here. It must have been with a heavy heart that you left West Brom, of course, because you spent so long there.
Yeah, of course. I think when you spend that amount of time somewhere, it's obviously going to be a hard decision, but I felt it was the right time for myself and to try a new thing and take a new pathway, and I think that's all part of life. And I've had a great time, met some great people at West Brom, and I wish them all the best. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to a new challenge here.
What about this pathway and challenge excites you?
I think you see it as a club that's going places and on a good trajectory, and everything that I've heard about the manager is nothing but positive. So coming here and being part of this group that's achieved a lot of things in a short space of time is really exciting.
Ipswich did also look at central midfield and striker options today, but the right deal didn't become available, so we understand that Alex Palmer is their fourth and final signing of this January window as they now embark on this relegation battle in the second half of the season. But the good news, they did keep Liam Delap.
Yeah, that is great news for them, isn't it? Thank you ever so much, Paul. Right, stay with us. Coming up, Manchester City have been the big spenders this month, but is there still more to come?
Jeg tror det er mere eller mindre game over. Det er game over. Jeg tror sgu ikke, der bliver signet så meget mere i aften. Der kommer ikke, altså... Hvad har vi tilbage? Har vi 45 minutter? Jeg er ikke engang sikker på, at man kan nå det. La 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 la. Jeg tror, vi er... Vi skulle ved at være færdige. Aston Villa stadigvæk. Nok dem, der har haft det bedste vindue sammen med Manchester City. Bip, 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 bip. Jeg forstår ikke sådan et hold som Arsenal, at de ikke Ferguson. Hvorfor ikke Ferguson? Jeg synes, den lå lidt til højre benet. Kan vide, hvad... Jeg skal lige se, hvad den der tell... Hvad den ender med.
Right, Chelsea were subject to plenty of transfer activity today, but they are taking on West Ham at the Bridge right now in the Monday Night Football that's live for you right now over on Sky Sports. And it's Chelsea who've just brought things level against West Ham. Jarrod Bowen put West Ham ahead in the 42nd minutes, but it's Neto who's brought them level. They had to check it for VAR as whether Chokerede got an edge on it in terms of the assist, but it looks like he didn't because he would have been deemed to be offside had he, but I don't think he did, so that means that the ball went in the back of the net, courtesy of Neto, and they are 1-1 at the moment, 68 minutes gone on the clock.
Now, Manchester City's spending is all set to continue if they can beat the deadline to bring in this man here. This is Nico Gonzalez, the midfielder. Let's get Ben Ransom's update. Ben joins us live from City. Ben, good evening to you. Where are we? An hour and a half just over to go till the window closes. Anything for City fans to worry about at this late stage?
Well, Manchester City fans are having to be very patient, but when you've waited 7 years for a major signing on a winter deadline day, what's another hour
West
or
Ham
two? Well,
Club,
hopefully
Ferguson.
it won't be 2 hours because we'll have missed the deadline, but we understand this move's still very much on for Nico Gonzalez. Now, he's a player that City have coveted for a long time. They first looked at him and tried to sign him, would you believe, when he was a 14-year-old schoolboy playing at La Masia, the Barcelona academy. Now, since then, he's matured through Barcelona and made this move to Porto, been there some 18 months, and he's really impressed in that central midfield role. And City have been looking at him, keeping track of him. They've obviously clearly liked what they've seen. And I think their focus on this central midfield position that has been a priority for them since Rodri's ACL was focused and sharpened probably after that defeat at Arsenal yesterday. So they had one more day to try and do business. We know they first spoke to Porto a few days ago about this move. Initially, Porto's fee of €60 million, that's around £50 million, that's the release clause in Gonzalez's contract, was deemed too high. But I think at this stage in the window, the opportunity to get one more signing through the door to give Pep Guardiola the best possible chance of finishing in the top four, qualifying for the Champions League, and maybe even still lifting a trophy and turning what's been a pretty torrid season into a relatively successful one. That opportunity seems too good to turn down. It is a waiting game. We understand the player's had his medical. We're waiting for a confirmation, the final parts of this transfer to be put together. City looking to beat the clock to get one more over the line.
Ben Ransom, thank you very much indeed. And as and when that deal is confirmed, City fans, we will let you know, of course. Let's see what our panel think about it. Michael, 3 big money signings combined, what, £130 million already through the door this month for City. Would he be the final piece of the jigsaw? Would he make them top 4 certainties?
I mean, you see how Manchester City have been in recent weeks. I saw them, I covered them when they blew Ipswich away, and people are saying they're the back. No disrespect to Ipswich, and then you see them after that, and you see them yesterday. I mean, it was concerning. And this is where Manchester City are. I still think they'll be in the top 4. They've got enough to get in there, but I just, it's damaging. I'm disappointed. I'm sad that where Manchester City have gone in such a short pace of time. And you look, is it down to one player? I go, is it all down to Rodri? I just look at the team. They just look like they've got no legs. As soon as the team sits in a counter-attack like Arsenal did yesterday, they just absolutely look broke defensively. Opportunity after opportunity against the better teams, and if they play Real Madrid and play in that way, they will get absolutely destroyed, because we can say how good they are going forward at times, but then out of possession, they haven't been good enough. And when you talk about Nico Gonzalez coming in, the young kid, Cousinov, I mean, his first 4 minutes, I was sat home with, well, sat here actually, weren't we? We were watching it between our fingers, thinking, wow. It's a long way back for Pep Guardiola at this moment in time, because teams are improving, and I think for Man City it's a challenge. You're going to improve, you try, but when you're playing with Bernardo Silva and Kovacic in the middle of the park yesterday, it's just, Bernardo Silva, as great as he's been, he's got no legs anymore. He's the creative player, but you need energy in the Premier League. You need to be able to get around the pitch. And so that won't finish Manchester City just yet. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Mr. Gonzalez, could you come in and fill the boots of a Ballon d'Or winner, please? Because we're missing him. I mean, Sue, it's a lot of pressure on him to step straight into that role of that defensive midfield. I think he can play further forward as well, but how much did they need to address that position?
Yeah, they did. I think we knew that Manchester City would be busy because of the injuries, because of, you were saying, the older players, and they were coming towards the end of the contracts and things like that. But you looked at who they brought in, 2 young defenders, so you think, well, that's maybe for the future. Yes, you can see them sort of developing and gradually putting them in and out. But then you look at Mamouche and you go, well, yeah, great signing, looked brilliant on that first game that I watched him. He looked electric at times, maybe not so much the other day. But then you looked at the key position that they needed to strengthen, and that was in that holding midfield role, because no matter what you say about the different players that they've missed, Rodri has been a huge miss in there. They've got the technical players, they've got the quality, but they just don't have that legs, they don't have the presence. They miss him from a defensive perspective and going forward. So, yeah, it's a lot of pressure on a young man, 23 years old, but I think you've just got to back yourself, haven't you? You've got to go in there and back yourself.
Jules, they've signed well. In this window, they've signed well, and they're doing younger players. He's a young player. What he has to realise is, whoever they sign, as soon as Rodri's fit, he's not playing. Unless there's be times where he plays with him. They need it. Dorse made the point. Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, fantastic footballers. But Arsenal overrun them in midfielder. And Cole Palmer's just scored, and my fantasy team is flying. Woo! Cole Palmer. But it is a good signing, Jules.
Do you know the only thing I'd say, though, with him coming back, Rodri, is the ACL injury. It's just like, how long's that going to take to get back to your absolute best? So I think
it's been a really poor 6 months for Manchester City. You can go on about, you know, their decline on the pitch. But very rarely over a period of time has Manchester City and the recruitment staff got it wrong. They've got it wrong not to do their business in the summer. I mean, they must have been able to look at this and say, listen, there might be an opportunity that 2 or 3 players could become at the end of their Manchester City careers, not their career, but the way that Pep Guardiola wants to play, it was probably coming to the end. They should have identified this in the summer. They're now, signing players that were probably earmarked for this summer. They're now having to move it forward and pay more money for them. Listen, for Manchester City, when you think of some of the money they've brought in, it's nothing to them. But I don't think that Pep Guardiola would have wanted to spend as much and brought as many players in January when he started this season off. But because of the performance on the pitch, he's been forced to.
Do you think he should have done more business?
Chelsea forward to it.
I know you say he's brought in there. I think he had to have brought a right back in when Kyle Walker went out.
This will be £180 million worth of business this month.
No, I don't think they need to panic there, Dawson, because the players that in January you don't sometimes get the players that you want. So you're right. I think they would have identified these players. They do their business quite well, Man City, months and months ago. But I agree with you. They do need a right back, because Nunes is not a right back, and that's for me is where Man City are struggling. They're struggling all over the pitch, but in particular there. But I think the business, they've probably done enough business. They'll have to go again. They're not winning the Premier League title, but as you said, they'll finish in the top 4.
I think so.
Yeah.
Guys, we need to move on. We saw Chris Boyd do the celebration. Vicky can give us the details.
Yeah, I'm doing the celebration as well. It's Cole Palmer, isn't it? I mean, they were 1-0 down, Chelsea, but now they are 2-1 up, courtesy of a beautiful goal from
Og Palmer lavede assist,
in the
eller?
end. In fact, it went to Wan-Bissaka because it took a wicked deflection off Wan-Bissaka in the end, so it's been given to Wan-Bissaka as an own goal. But it was off the boots of Cole Palmer, who started it. So Chelsea 2-1 up in that game at the moment at the Bridge. The home fans going wild at the moment, enjoying Cole Palmer all the way there.
Så ligger City nummer 5, tror
Oh,
jeg.
it's not cold here though. It's heating up, isn't it? We're kind of down to the transfer window shutting. After the break, we're going to be live with both Arsenal and Brighton. Stay with us.
Okay, en halv time tilbage. Det skulle game over. Det er en mulighed, at Arsenal kan bruge Ethan op i angrebet. Det kunne man godt prøve, I guess. Everton, har de signet nogen? Det tror jeg faktisk ikke, de har. Jeg tror ikke, de har signet nogen. Everton heller. Mads, min gode ven, Mads, kæmpe Everton-fan. Han kommer til at være sad.
Right, let's get to Arsenal then. Of course, they thrashed Manchester City 5-1 yesterday, didn't they? But plenty felt that Mikel Arteta would bring in a forward this window. Gary Cottrell is at the Emirates Stadium for us. 5 different scorers, though, yesterday. So I guess there was a question, do they really need a striker, Gary? Is there going to be any late business, do you think, for Arsenal?
Well, Vicky, and I hope Jules is watching, because unfortunately I'll have nothing to contribute to his beautifully written and beautifully presented end of window poem that he delivers just before 11 o'clock, because deadline day here at Arsenal has come and almost gone. The January and a little bit of February winter transfer window has come and almost gone, and no ins and no outs. And of course that means for Arsenal fans, so many of who wanted that instinctive goal scorer to try and turn second top scorers in the Premier League to top scorers in the Premier League, second in the Premier League to winning the Premier League and picking up silverware, that isn't going to happen. The hierarchy here did try, the recruiters here did try, they've been trying all day, but they just couldn't find the right fit, they just couldn't find the right deal in this window. And so now attention turns, which I think was always plan A, to the midterm, to the summer, to try and bring that kind of player in. So I'm afraid nothing for Arsenal fans to look forward to, apart of course from Jules's poem.
Yes, well, Jules's poem, if he does it, we might have sacked that off for this year, but anyway, we'll find out. You have to stay with us and find out. It's always brilliant from him and always brilliant from Gary. Let's find out about Manchester United now, because it has been relatively quiet transfer window for them, and our senior reporter Melissa Reddy has been at Old Trafford for us all day. Good to see you, Melissa, as always. Matthias Tell could have been a Manchester United player, couldn't he? But he looks like he's joining Tottenham now. What went wrong then for Manchester United, do you think?
Manchester United had spent the entire window canvassing forwards domestically and around Europe, and Tell was one of the players they were interested in. They spoke to Bayern over conditions of a deal, and what the Bundesliga giants wanted was a £5 million loan fee, which United felt was exorbitant for a young player that's still relatively untested. And included in this loan fee, there was no buy clause in the deal, so no option nor obligation.
Men det har Tottenham fået.
So United felt that they would be paying a substantial fee to take on a player, give him development over the next 6 months for Bayern to profit from, because they could sell him for a hefty fee in the summer, and potentially another competitor to profit from if Bayern chose to sell him to a Premier League rival or any other top European team. So it seemed, from United's perspective, a lot of money and work on their end for little reward long term. And the club have been quite conscious to be more sensible and financially responsible in the transfer window. They do not want to repeat mistakes of the past, mistakes which have gotten them in this situation, both with their on-pitch performances and
Jeg forstår ikke den sag,
the poor form they've had in recent seasons, and then also the financial situation they're in. So they don't want to panic buy, they don't want to get themselves caught up in deals where they're just trying to get someone in for the sake of numbers, for the sake of how it looks visually, whereas down the line they end up paying for it.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, Melissa, but I bet the fans wouldn't, and maybe even Ruben Amorim perhaps wanted to put his own stamp on this squad and bringing in more players. How would you summarise their window?
The club are quite comfortable with the work they've done. I think it's very understandable from the supporters' perspective and from Ruben Amorim's perspective if there's a feeling that they are short in attack, because they've let Marcus Rashford and Anthony leave on loan. Yet with those outgoings, the club feels like they've trimmed the wage bill and they've helped themselves in terms of future planning. So if both Rashford and Anthony do well on loan and United can get them off the books, that helps them create and implement Ruben Amorim's blueprint fully in terms of the transfer window. It arms them with more funds. From their perspective as well, the one thing that they really wanted to do in this January window was sign a left wing back, and they did that in Patrick Dorgu from Lecce, and that deal for them was on very good terms. They wanted to pay less than £30 million. They did that because of their players' desire to join. And they've also felt like, in terms of creating that pathway for the first team and filling that with talent, they've brought in Aiden Heaven from Arsenal. And that's a longer term drive that they have to just make sure their pool of talent is stocked. So I think United fans, perhaps some of the first team, the manager himself, would have liked there to be more business. But I think Amorim is also very, very much on board with being a lot more sustainable and thoughtful in what they want to do moving forward. And he knows that in the summer, he will be backed properly.
Okay, all right, brilliant from you. Thanks, Melissa.
Let's go to Brighton now. They've brought in a striker today, but could there be more incomings before the deadline at 11 o'clock? Our reporter, Chris Reedy, is there. Chris, hello, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jules, we started off nice and busy this morning at Brighton. A £20 million striker came in. Stefanos Zimas from Nuremberg. He's going to stay at Nuremberg until the end of the season. The 19-year-old is on a contract till 2030. But look, for the next hour and a quarter, there is one more deal that might happen here at Brighton. It's looking increasingly unlikely as the time gets nearer to deadline. But Tommy Watson, 19-year-old winger from Sunderland, reported at the start of the day that Brighton were working on that deal. They had an initial bid of 8.5 million rejected earlier in the window. Now, the sticking point today really is Sunderland looking for a replacement. Earlier on, they bid for Casey McAteer from Leicester. That was turned down. They asked for Simon Adingra from Brighton in exchange on loan to the rest of the season. Brighton said, no, thank you. We're keeping him. He's a key player. So, yeah, look, that's the sticking point. Sunderland trying to find a replacement for Tommy Watson. Brighton are still trying to do that deal, but with not long left to go. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Chris, live at Brighton. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, stay with us. Plenty more to tell you about this big transfer deadline day. 1 hour, 14 minutes to go of it. Stay with us. Coming up, a couple of teams at the end of the table. Everton and Southampton will be with those clubs next.
Måske ikke. Jeg forstår ikke det der. Så man har hentet ham tilbage for at lege ham ud. Okay. Han har lejet ham. Så han tilbage, så lejede han til Barcelona, tilbage, og så til Chelsea. Det er også vildt, ikke? At man lejer ham. Han præsterer dårligt. Han rører til Barcelona, præsterer relativt dårligt. Så køber man ham, og så lejer man ham ud igen. Det virker helt absurd. Det kan jeg altså ikke se det smarte i. Det må jeg nok indrømme. João Felix sagaen. Han er faktisk kun 25 år gammel. Det giver ikke nogen mening, synes jeg. Hvad købte de ham for? Kan man se det? Hvad blev han købt for? €52 millioner.
Okay, just to bring you a bit of breaking news, you remember Carlo
giver ingen
was
mening.
here with me just a few moments ago talking about João Felix, and now he has arrived in Italy to complete his loan move from Chelsea to AC Milan. Milan are going to pay his wages and a £5 million loan fee until the end of the season. You remember he came, didn't he, last August after he signed that 7-year contract to move back to Chelsea for the second time from Atletico Madrid in a £45 million deal. That was only last August, but he's on his way now to complete his loan move from Chelsea to AC Milan. He's arrived in Italy. OK, what about Everton? Well, they're flying, aren't they, under David Moyes? 3 wins on the bounce, and there could be even more good news at Goodison. Let's go live to Anton Tolui, who's at the club's training ground for us this evening. Good to see you, Anton. Is this deal close for Carlos Alcaraz right now?
Yeah, I'm told it's expected to be confirmed before the deadline. Carlos Alcaraz, he was here yesterday having his medical. He's obviously on Merseyside. Personal terms have been agreed for a loan deal with an option to make it permanent. And a big indication that that deal is set to go through before the deadline is the fact that one of Everton's rising stars in the same position in attacking midfield, in Harrison Armstrong, has been allowed to leave the club on loan. He's joined Derby after signing a new 3.5-year deal. So there has been one signature at Everton today, but that's internally. We're waiting externally for the signing of Carlos Alcaraz, which should be confirmed before the deadline.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Anton. So before the deadline for that one, perhaps. Let's talk about Southampton now, because they're another club looking for help in this relegation battle, aren't they? Mark McAdam is the man in the know for Southampton. Let's go and find him then at the club's training ground. Good to see you, Mark. Lovely coat, by the way. Look, Mark, Ivan Juric needs reinforcements, doesn't he? Is he going to get them?
It certainly doesn't look like it at the moment, despite the lights on in the training ground behind me. The hopes of signing someone on deadline day are diminishing by the minute for Southampton. Our colleagues Sky in Italy have reported in the last hour that their charge to try and sign Abakar Seiler from Strasbourg has collapsed. So Ivan Juric, desperate to sign a defender in this transfer window. He likes to play 3 at the back, so he wants at least 5 or 6 in his squad, so he's got options. But the 22-year-old Ivory Coast international isn't going to be heading to Southampton. So the chances of Ivan Juric making any signings on deadline day now seem very unlikely. I think the biggest wish for Southampton fans would be some points. They got 3 points against Ipswich. I don't think they'll be adding to their squad today with, an hour or so to go until the deadline closes. But one other piece of news from Southampton is that Gavin Bazunu, the club, are in talks with Standard Liège about him going out on loan for the remainder of the season. Hasn't played at all for the first team, despite making 41 appearances in their promotion campaign from the Championship to the Premier League last year under Russell Martin. So Gavin Bazunu out of the back door at Southampton. But unfortunately, Vicky, seems like there'll be no one coming in the front door.
OK, thank you very much, Mark.
Empty chair. Yeah, understandable considering the company. Sue's decided to bail. No, Paul thinks had a bit of a coughing fit, and we've used all our substitutions, so we're going to play with 3 for a while. Vicky's offering to come on, but...
Up as a substitution.
Well, you can come in if you want.
I'd be a very poor one, so I'll stay here. It's fine. I'll just watch.
OK, you stay and watch. OK.
Thanks.
So let me ask you about Everton. Looks like Carlos Alcaraz, not done yet, will be the only new player through the door. What do you think, Chris?
He's a good tennis player.
You're waiting all night for that.
Is there another one?
There is, the one that was at Southampton, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I think for David Moyes, listen, when you look at the last 3 results as well, you know, to get the 3 victories in a row, the confidence will be high, but you will want to add a couple of players, and if you can get them in, it could make a big difference. You look at Everton going forward, they'll need that little bit more creativity. Yeah, I think that's going to be a decent signing.
Obviously, Beto scored a couple at the weekend, but Calvert-Lewin's injured. Chomiti's not ready to come back yet either. Bro is still injured. Are they looking light up front?
They are looking like, definitely. Broder's good, though. They've managed to keep him because I thought he might maybe have gone back to Chelsea. There was rumours there.
I hope he might be back a bit sooner
than expected. Yeah. Calvert-Lewin could be probably long-term because of his hamstring, but they do need to strengthen up front. I feel if you want to stay in the Premier League, you're only as good as your centre-forward. But I do think Everton have been all right, as Boydie said. The 3 wins under David Moyes have been fantastic. Everton don't have to worry. They start looking up the table. They shouldn't be looking over their shoulders. But Alcaraz is a good signing. But I think a couple more bodies would help them, wouldn't they, do?
100%. When you lose Mangala, you talk about Calvert-Lewin, it's your squad. You need a group of players that, all right, he's probably now thinking, we're nearly there, we're nearly going to be safe. And I thought they would when David Moyes came in, but you need some bodies just to give everyone a lift. Alcaraz, I mean, he's got energy in midfield.
Yeah, you're right.
He's good. But if you keep losing players, eventually you're going to leave yourself so light. I think Mangala's been a big miss since he's come in, and then last week ACL, am I right? And you're like,
Everton, Newcastle, Arsenal står lidt med de samme problemer.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what? I don't even know why Sue left, because it's positive about Everton.
Should have loved to have talked about it.
I know. Love to spoke about Everton, isn't it? It's all positive. Bad Usually timing. It's not positive, but it's good positive. So keep smiling, Junior.
I've got about 30 seconds. Another team, well, Everton have started to pull away from trouble. A team who want to do just that, Ipswich. Chris, Godfrey in on loan, and Ciso from Brighton, Philogene from Villa, Alex Palmer now a new goalkeeper in. Has this been a good window for them in 30 seconds?
It'll have to be. You know, I thought Ipswich should have got out it, but now I'm swaying more towards it. They're going to struggle to stay up.
Even with those reinforcements?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, the goalkeeping situation, yes, they've strengthened that, but they keep giving away cheap goals. I think Ciso could be a decent signing for them, but the games that they've lost recently, they've got to be picking up points from them, especially at the weekend as well. When you look at Southampton's record, especially away from home as well, that would have been one that they've been looking to say.
They needed to bring a goal.
Come on, Sue. Everton's over. Come on.
Come
on.
Welcome back.
Chelsea, de kommer til at vinde den kamp.
Relax, everybody. Sue's okay.
Sue, the problem is we've finished talking about Everton.
Sue, we'll speak to you in the next hour.
Okay, perfect.
Have a few more minutes. Get yourself better. Thank you.
That Sue is back within the fold, because I would have been rubbish as a substitute. Just to bring you bang up to date with the Monday Night Football, it has finished now 2-1 to Chelsea against West Ham at the Bridge. No Chelsea manager, it's been a previous Chelsea manager that's come back, has ever won at the Bridge. Graham Potter couldn't do it tonight either with West Ham. OK, we'll keep you up to date with loads of stuff that's going on. We've got Axel Disasi choosing Villa over Spurs. Marco Asensio going on loan to Villa. We've got Nico Gonzalez trying to get over the line to get from Porto to Manchester City. And we've got more from Tottenham as well. Of course, that big deal for them with Matisse Tal. We'll bring you across everything. That clock is now ticking down. 1 hour and 3 minutes to go. We'll see you.
Jeg har nærmest sagt det fra starten af, men jeg tror ikke, der er ikke mere at hente her. Jeg tror sgu ikke, der er mere at hente. Det står også stille på Twitter. Skal vi lige prøve at kigge på jeg tror faktisk han blanker igen. Han får en assist på den der, okay. Det er da altid noget. Nej, man skulle have haft Munoz i stedet for Hall. Nå, chat. Jeg tror ikke, der sker mere. Så jeg tror bare, jeg holder mig opdateret via Twitter. Og så skal vi nok lave en post. Måske senere i dag eller i morgen. Hvor vi lige opsummerer, hvordan og hvorledes. Jeg tror ikke, der er så meget mere at sige end det. Så jeg vil bare sige tak for i aften. Og vi ses jo snart til... Skal jeg lige se, hvor det er. Vi har en watch-along upcoming. Den 6. Og så har vi Premier League runde 5. Eller Premier Manager runde 5, hvor vi lige kigger på et par spillere og sætter et hold. Så endelig like og subscribe, og så tryk notify, hvis I skal være med på den. Ellers så ligger de altså herinde, så I kan altid komme ind og se dem, når som helst. Men vi lige startede, det ved jeg godt, 9 subscribers. Jeg føler godt, vi kan godt lige pumpe den lidt op. Det kan vi godt. Men det var alt for mig.